My original idea was I should start off with this whole thing that I've been talking about for a long time, which is called the fourth industrial revolution, and what sort of impact is it going to have as far as countries like India are concerned. I mean, we need not be worried about what would happen in bigger countries for a simple reason, कारण आपण काही चायना किंवा अमेरिकेतल्या सिव्हिल सर्व्हिसेसमध्ये परीक्षा देणार नाही आहे. त्यामुळे आपल्याला आपल्या इथं द्यायची, त्यामुळे आपल्याला आपल्या इथला विचार करायचा. So अशा केसमध्ये we need to be thinking and focusing on this as to how would this go about impacting things as far as we in India are concerned. Now, where did this idea come from? This idea essentially comes from something which was being talked about in the last term, that as far as a country like India is concerned, you have these figures which have been brought out by the World Economic Forum and the World Bank and all of them. In the next 5 to 6 years, India is going to witness a major erosion as far as jobs are concerned. And most of these jobs are jobs of what is called as a middle income variety, jobs which have been responsible for the sort of economic development that India has witnessed over the last 25 years. की गेल्या साधारणपणे 20-25 वर्षामध्ये तुम्हाला जे काही आर्थिक वाढ विकास झालेला बघायला मिळतो, त्याच्या पायाशी असलेल्या ज्या नोकऱ्या आहेत त्याच्यातल्या जवळजवळ बऱ्याच मोठ्या प्रमाणामध्ये नोकऱ्यांमध्ये तुम्हाला घट होताना दिसणार आहे as far as the coming 5 to 6 years are concerned. The IT sector in India goes about employing, if you take into consideration all figures put together, something like 4 million odd people. In those 4 million that it goes about employing, it's going to go about witnessing a drop, a precipitous drop as far as these managerial level jobs are concerned, of approximately 440,000. 440,000 on the face of it might not look like a big figure as such. I might be wrong on this. It might be 44 million and you're going to lose 4 million. Yeah, ऐसा भी हो सकता है. I just need to keep my head cool about it कि ये कितना exactly loss के बारे में हम बात कर रहे हैं. But you're definitely witnessing what is called as a 10% decline in it. The 10% decline in those types of jobs in some other situation will count for nothing. In the Indian context, it counts for a lot, for a simple reason, because most of these people are people who are responsible for pushing up consumption in quite a whole lot of places in India, especially in South India as well as in North India. So याच्या सगळ्या न्यू सिटीज तुम्हाला पाहायला मिळतात, बीट गुडगाव, बीट नोएडा, बीट बँगलोर, बीट पुणे. तो ह्यांच्या बेसला असलेले ज्या प्रकारचे IT जॉब्स आहेत, त्या प्रकारच्या IT जॉब्समध्ये यू आर गोइंग टू विटनेस अ डिक्लाइन. Now most of these jobs are declining for a simple reason, because the technologies which are evolving are making these people redundant. So on one hand you are witnessing a situation कि जिसमें इन लोगों का शायद कोई ज़रूरत ही नहीं है, and quite a number of things are things which the machines can themselves start handling. So you are standing at a certain sort of a cusp कि how does this whole thing go about impacting, and what exactly are the ramifications of all of this. When they say that this is the fourth, so obviously there are 3 earlier to this. So they're saying that this is the fourth industrial revolution that we're talking about. So obviously इसके पहले 3 तो हो चुके हैं. तो वो 3 exactly क्या हैं and how does one visualize them? The first one normally is datable to the late period of the 18th century and used what is called as steam as the powering fuel as far as the first industrial growth is concerned. So जो 18th सेंचुरी में शुरू हुआ, जो ब्रिटेन में शुरू हुआ, जो टेक्सटाइल्स और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के साथ ताल्लुक़ रखता है, और जिसका प्राइमरी फ्यूल जो था वो स्टीम था, स्टीम मेड आउट ऑफ वाटर. ओके, सो यू बॉयल वाटर टू अ सर्टेन लेवल, बट ऑफ कोर्स दिस इज लाइक यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट अ ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ वाटर विच इज गेटिंग बॉइल्ड एंड इट्स अ ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ स्टीम विच इज गेटिंग जनरेटेड. सो वो वाला जो रेवोल्यूशन है वो आपका पहला इंडस्ट्रियल रेवोल्यूशन. वो वाला रेवोल्यूशन ब्रिंग्स ब्रिटेन in a situation wherein it's a commanding economy as far as a major part of the world is concerned. It is coupled with British colonialism. It goes about seeing to it that products manufactured in British factories and industries will have a ready outlet as far as most of these colonies in Asia and Africa are concerned. So एक तरफ उनको इसका प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, इसका पैसा जो आ रहा है, मतलब अगर ये रेवोल्यूशन, अगर ये पहला वाला इंडस्ट्रियल रेवोल्यूशन है, तो ऑब्वियसली यू हैव गॉट टू थिंक इन टर्म्स ऑफ ते मॅन्युफॅक्चर काय करते, त्याच्यासाठी फ्युएल अँड एनर्जी कशात मिळते, ते जे मॅन्युफॅक्चर करते ते विकतंय कुठं, आणि त्याच्यासाठी ते कॅपिटल अँड क्रेडिट एक्झॅक्टली रेज कसं करतंय. सो मोस्ट ऑफ द कॅपिटल अँड क्रेडिट इन दिस केस केम आउट ऑफ व्हॉट इज कॉल्ड ॲज द अर्लियर फेज ऑफ कॉलोनियलिज्म विच वॉज रिलेटेड टू ट्रेडिंग ऑल ओवर द वर्ल्ड. सो वो ट्रेडिंग वाला जो सरप्लस है That trading wala surplus will get invested into all of this, and that trading surplus is what is going to propel Britain to a level कि जिसमें it need not be worried about this कि इसका capital or credit would this witness some sort of a shock from outside if it gets stopped, so they don't have that sort of a problem. Its markets come in mostly the United Kingdom, but of course उनका capacity बहुत कम है in terms of absorbing the sort of goods which get manufactured. So its ready markets are located in Britain's colonies in Asia and Africa. So जेवढ्याही ब्रिटिश कॉलनीज आहेत त्या ह्याचे रेडी मार्केट्स आहेत. आता इफ यू कम्पेअर इट विथ द प्रेझेंट इट्स व्हेरी स्लो. इट्स मोस्टली अ स्पीडिंग अप ऑफ द अर्लियर टेक्नॉलॉजीज ऑफ मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग. सो ज्या त्याच्या आधी अस्तित्वात असलेल्या मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंगच्या टेक्नॉलॉजीज विशेषतः टेक्सटाईल मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंगच्या त्या एका अर्थाने त्याला स्पीडअप करतात. पण त्याला जर का तुम्ही आजच्या परिप्रेक्षातून बघितलं, एक तर दोज मशीन्स आर ह्यूज अँड कम्बरसम, मेक अ लॉट ऑफ नॉईज, इट्स व्हेरी डिफिकल्ट टू वर्क ऑन दोज मशीन्स. At least as far as human beings as of now are concerned, and most importantly you need a lot of people to work on those machines. So त्या machines अशा machines नाही आहेत की which will enable you to visualize this future कि wherein you would have machines which will work on their own. So आपका आज का जो situation है as far as the fourth industrial is concerned, there is a situation wherein you don't need to be worried about attending to a machine. A machine will take care of itself. It's quite capable of taking care of itself, it's quite capable of healing itself, it's quite capable of repairing itself, it's quite capable of doing quite a number of things which say for example the 18th century machines could never even imagine कि ये सब किया जा सकता था. पर 18th century वाला जो मशीन है ना वो बहुत ही कम्बरसम मशीन है, उसको बहुत सारे लोगों का ज़रूरत है टू रन इट एंड टू मेंटेन इट. सो उसको चलाने के लिए भी बहुत सारे लोग चाहिए और उसको मेंटेन करने के लिए भी बहुत सारे लोग चाहिए. सो एक तरह से वो इंडस्ट्रियल रेवोल्यूशन जो है is not displacing people. All it is doing is it is moving people. So what it is doing is it's moving people from agriculture and small village wala artisanal activities into these cities which are now emerging in the United Kingdom, especially in the southern regions. And it's just moving them in large numbers from agriculture into what is called as industry. पर अच्छी जी परिस्थिति है ना कि the sort of machines which are now coming to the fore are possibly going to displace people. Well, that was not the sort of problem that they had at that point of time. The only problem that they had is you are not trained for this, but most of the time you needed no training for it. It was just a question of how many hours are you going to work on it. Work hours were long. Most of the time the pay was a pittance. So you were paid a small amount of money. Working hours बहुत बड़े हैं. The countryside is rapidly getting evacuated and you are having large cities which are now getting established with a huge portion of the city being ekdam congested, completely polluted and inhabited by people who are living in situations which are almost bad for human existence. So most of the time what you get is affordable housing नहीं है, तो you end up living in what is called as slums. So जो पुराना आपका सिटी था, जो एक वेल प्लान था, लेड आउट था, वो निकल जाता है और उसकी जगह पे ये जो नए इंडस्ट्रियल टाउन्स आने लगते हैं, बकाल आहेत, अत्यंत पोल्यूटेड आहेत, full of crime आहेत, infested by people who possibly have no morals at all and they are living in conditions which are extremely fetid. Okay, and it has all the typical problems. म्हणजे ज्या ज्या गोष्टींसाठी ते आज भारतात येऊन नाका मुरडतात त्या सगळ्या गोष्टी is what they have lived with in the 18th century. सो ज्या ज्या सगळ्या गोष्टी की तुमच्या इथं हे खूपच कंजेस्टेड आहे, खूप पोल्युटेड आहे, हे किती घाण आहे, this stinks, it has a certain sort of bad odor to it. Well, if you look at 18th century Britain, it was nothing different from this. Okay, maybe it's just that the color of the skin of the people living in it is different. इसके अलावा और कोई difference नहीं है, वो ऑलमोस्ट ऐसे ही इतना ही गंदा था. हाँ, हमारा प्रॉब्लम एक अलग ये है कि हमारी गंदगी मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम इज नॉट अ कॉन्सिक्वेंस ऑफ व्हॉट इज कॉल्ड एज इंडस्ट्रियल मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग. मतलब भारतीय शहरं जी काही खराब दिसतात त्याचं कारण इंडस्ट्रियल मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग नाही आहे. 18व्या शतकातली ब्रिटिश शहरं जी खराब दिसत आहेत त्याचं कारण ज्या प्रकारच्या प्रोसेसेस ऑफ मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग आहेत त्या प्रोसेसेस त्याला जबाबदार आहेत. ओके, तुमची शहरं जी काही खराब दिसतात ते म्हणजे तुम्ही पाण्यात जाऊन जे काही उद्योग करता इन टर्म्स ऑफ देव बुडवणे, आपण बुडवणे, म्हैस बुडवणे आणि मग बाहेर येऊन सगळ्यांनीच लोळत फिरणे, तर ती सगळी कारण आहेत की याच्यामुळे तुमची शहरं खराब दिसतात. इट्स नॉट दॅट इंडियन सिटीज आर लाईक मेजर मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग हब्स बिकॉज ऑफ विच दे आर लाईक बॅड अँड ऑल ऑफ दॅट. Indians culturally are people who are attuned to something that is called as complete dirt in the middle of something called as personal cleanliness. म्हणजे पाणी घाण दिसतंय तरी त्याच्यात तो उतरणार आणि आंघोळ करणार विथ द आयडिया दॅट ह्या पाण्यात स्नान केल्याच्या नंतर आपली पापं धुतली जातात. सो असली बिंडोक प्रजा जी आहे ना तिथं काय करतायत, सो फॉरगेट दॅट. येते लक्षात. मग आपल्याकडे काय आपण इंडस्ट्रियल मॅन्युफॅक्चरिंग करतोय आणि त्याच्यामुळे आपली शहरं खराबच असातला प्रकार नाही. पण असो, the second phase of this entire activity would be something that would start in the late 19th century, when sometime around the 1870s, and this is what is called as the second industrial revolution, you'll have the coming in of what is called as electricity. And once you have the coming in of electricity, things are going to change in an unimaginable manner. So पहला revolution जो है उसका पार जो है वो steam है, दूसरा वाला revolution जो है उसका पार electricity है. वो 1870s में आएगा और वो चीजों को कुछ इस कदर बदल देगा कि जिसके बाद द वर्ल्ड इज नेवर गोइंग टू बी द सेम एवर अगेन. ओके, सो वंस यू हैव द कमिंग इन ऑफ इलेक्ट्रिसिटी in terms of a very important component of industrial manufacturing, in terms of a very important component of lighting things up, you are not going to live in a world which was ever the same again, ever. You want to live in a completely different world. त्या अर्थाने इलेक्ट्रिसिटी एक मेजर डिसरप्शन है. Okay, in a number of contexts, it's actually believed that one of the most important inventions of the industrial age is what is called as electricity, to the level that it majorly disrupted things. त्याच्या नंतरच्या बाकीच्या सगळ्या गोष्टी ज्या आहेत ना, the third industrial revolution is a 20th century phenomena. It's largely based in what is known as the coming of electronics. So the coming in of electronics, the coming in of these chips, the coming in of machines which can be largely automated is what is called as the third industrial revolution. And the fourth one is largely datable to the late 1990s and early 2000 and beyond. And we are even today living in this fourth wala phase in terms of its inventions and innovations. तो वो क्या इन्वेंट कर रहा है, वो क्या इनोवेट कर रहा है, उसका जो प्रोसेस है वो अभी भी चल रहा है. सो इट्स जसं याच्यातली प्रत्येक फेज जसं मी म्हटलं की फर्स्ट सेकंड हे युनिक आहेत इन टर्म्स ऑफ द फॅक्ट यू कॅन आयडेंटिफाय समथिंग विथ इट. You have steam powered engines, you have electricity powered machines which are coming into place, you have electronically empowered machines which are the feature of the third phase. The fourth phase is a very interesting phase wherein machines increasingly resemble humans and humans increasingly come very close to machines. Okay, so machines increasingly human बनने लगते हैं. वो पूरा जो एंड्रॉयड वाला आइडिया है कि something that would be as human as possible. Okay, and on the other hand, human beings come very close to living something which was till a certain period of time supposed to be not human. So different types of implants which are now sort of implanted in your bodies, the different types of changes which you go about making as far as human biology is concerned. पहले तीनों रेवोल्यूशंस जो है वो बायोलॉजी के साथ ताल्लुक नहीं रखेंगे, वो एक तरह से बायोलॉजी से कट के रहेंगे. The fourth one has biology right at the center of it. So this whole idea that man should live better, man should live longer, man should live healthier, and possibly, I don't know, the fourth one is not something that I'm so keen on, that's why I'm not going to bring that into it, but it is very much a part of so many people's lives. Man should live a life which he feels is more beautiful. So I don't feel that त्याच्या सगळ्या प्रकारच्या ॲक्टिव्हिटीज येतात की मला नाही वाटत की माझा चेहरा चांगला आहे, मला नाही वाटत की माझे दात चांगले आहेत, मला नाही वाटत की सर्टन पार्ट्स ऑफ माय बॉडी आर गुड इनफ ॲज फार एज आय एम कन्सर्न. So all that you have got to do in these days in which we are located is to find the right sort of surgeon who can go about doing the surgery on you, to go about either replacing it, modifying it, or in some way or the other bettering it. Okay, now most of the time when they are doing all of this, they are using things which are perfectly non-biological. But at the same time, they are also innovating on things which would become as biological as is possible. So this whole idea of stem cells, this whole idea that we are going to go about cultivating organs outside the human body in certain controlled conditions, where say for example you lose a limb or you lose part of your body while you are working, or in whatever situation you are, you might be in a position to replace it with something which is perfectly biological. Not with something which is plastic, not with something which is metal का हो, fiber का हो, पर जो biological नहीं है, in the sense कि it's not made of muscle, it's not made of tissue, it's not made of bones. Okay, so those types of inventions or innovations is not what the earlier revolutions were bothered with. The earlier revolutions never came very close to it. The new one comes extremely close to it. So ये is an interface between what is called as the digital, the physical and the biological. So you go about interfacing all three of them in a manner wherein it's impossible to make a difference between the three. So all three are so well integrated with each other. So human biology, man's physical existence and the physical world around him, and the digital world that man has gone about developing, all three come together in a manner wherein इन तीनों में एक तरह से disintegrate करना, एक तरह से इनको disaggregate करना मुश्किल बन जाता है, और ये तीनों एक तरह से jointly काम करते हैं towards what is called as bettering human existence as such. Okay, so that essentially is the thrust of the fourth one. But the fourth one is, जिसको बोलते हैं ना, fourth एक तरह से incremental revolution है. So things which were done in the third one, you are trying to build up on that. You are trying to in some way or the other make things and machines, make chips which are much more better as compared to what the earlier ones were. To see to it कि उनका capacity ज़्यादा है, उनका speed ज़्यादा है, उनका power to process ज़्यादा है, but essentially the chip was already there as far as the third industrial revolution is concerned. So chip fourth का invention नहीं है, chip already third ने आपके लिए invent किया है. फोर्थ जो है वो खाली एक तरह से थर्ड ने जो कुछ भी किया है आज की तारीख में जितना भी है, इट्स ट्राइंग टू बिल्ड अप ऑन इट. सो मोस्ट ऑफ दीज इन्वेंशंस एंड इनोवेशंस आर मियरली ट्राइंग टू बिल्ड अप ऑन आवर अंडरस्टैंडिंग्स ऑफ थिंग्स व्हिच वर डेवलप्ड फॉर अस इन द 20th century. बट दैट्स नॉट द केस विद इलेक्ट्रिसिटी. Electricity is a major, huge disruption, and the way in which in a short period of time it goes about universalizing it with major ramifications as far as what exactly is going to be considered as good and bad is something that is impossible to think of, at least in the worlds in which we are now living, wherein we take electricity for granted. मैंने हमारा आज का दुनिया जो है वो takes this for granted कि there is something called electricity. It's always there. We never believe in this कि एक ऐसा वक्त आ सकता है, एक ऐसा सिचुएशन डेवलप हो सकता है कि जिसमें इलेक्ट्रिसिटी आपके आसपास ना रहेगा. You live in a world where you take it for granted. Light ही आस्ते, until and unless you don't come from regions of the earth where possibly you are not sort of fortunate enough to be in a situation where you are connected permanently to the grid. But you are also trying to do everything possible to see to it that ये जितने भी ऐसे patches of darkness है sort of would get covered up in a situation wherein everything will get connected with certain grids which need not be of the variety which are as of now in existence. Okay, so what is very interesting is ये बाकी जितनी भी हैं छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं. They keep on inventing small things at discrete points of time. They keep on building on the capacity of these small things. They keep on increasing this. And that is what gives you the situation in which you find yourselves. पर ये जो पहले वाले थे ये major disruptions थे. They broke off things in a huge way. Now each of these stages has major sort of ramifications for what does it mean to be living individually and to be living collectively. So आपण individual levelला आपलं जे अस्तित्व आहे त्याचा अर्थ काय होतो, आपण एक सामूहिक पातळीवरती जे जगतो, एक सामाजिक पातळीवरती जे काही जगतो त्याचा अर्थ काय होतो, ह्याच्यातली प्रत्येक गोष्ट ह्या सगळ्या अर्थांना एका अर्थाने डिस्टर्ब करत जाते. आणि त्याची जी कॅपॅसिटी टू डिस्ट्रप्शन आहे म्हणजे ऑब्व्हियसली वन्स अपॉन अ टाइम वे बॅक इन द 18th century you definitely had this crisis कि what if you start living in a world wherein machines are quite capable of taking over from humans the activities that humans are involved in. But at that point of time it was in the realm of speculation. It was largely a fantasy. It was largely in the realm of what today can be identified as science fiction. Okay, the earliest novel of this type, I don't know if you have ever heard it, is this English novel called as Frankenstein, which was written way back in the 18th century with an idea that someone can go about building. But Frankenstein though now comes very close to this sort of situation where we are now in, wherein the robot starts looking very human-like. But it has so many features which are so distinctly human. Okay, when 1780 मध्ये this was out of the world कि man can live with machines which are made by man, which have the capacity to judge for themselves, which have the capacity to discern between good and evil, and which most of the time can possibly make decisions which are not good enough. So उनके जो moral और ethical problems थे 18th century में, of course this was like at a completely different end altogether. But Frankenstein ही का एक खूब popular novel नहीं है. फ्रँकेनस्टाईन ही काही ब्रिटनमध्ये त्या काळी सगळ्यांनी वाचलेली अशातल्या प्रकारची नॉवेल नाही. सो ती मुळातच एक अत्यंत एक्सेप्शन अशा प्रकारची कादंबरी होती. पण हा प्रॉब्लेम होता, यू हॅड दिस एथिकल डिलेमा की व्हॉट इफ यू एंड अप विथ अ सिच्युएशन wherein you have a man-made thing which takes over from man everything that man is capable of doing. So जो कुछ भी man करता है वो सब कुछ जो है वो ये उसने बनाया हुआ जो एक चीज है ये उससे टेक ओवर करता है और ये सारी चीजें वो खुद करने लगता है. So what would that sort of a world be? What is our worth in it? So वो तमाम जो सवाल है जो way back 18th century में पूछे गए थे, some of those questions are relevant even today. Nobody is going to go about denying that those questions have lost their relevance as such. If the machine does everything, then the most important question is what does man do? So if the machine is going to perform every action for you, if the machine is capable of doing practically everything for you, then the most important question is जर त्यांनी सगळंच करायचं तर मग आपण काय करायचं? मग what is it that we are left with? Now these are major repercussions and sort of major consequences for what is called as how do you go about dividing time? How do you make sense of space around you? So there was a time before all of this 1780 के पहले वाला जमाना जिसमें तुम्ही जे काही काम करताय त्याच्यासाठी तुम्हाला दिवसाचे 24 तास पुरत नाही. त्याच्यामध्ये तुम्ही तुमचा दिवसाचा असा कुठलाही वेळ नाही की जो मोकळा आहे. Every amount of time is occupied with some work or the other. Most of the time you end up doing practically everything. So जो एक छोटा फैमिली यूनिट है, से फॉर एग्जाम्पल रूरल एरियाज में है, चाहे वो ब्रिटेन में हो, चाहे वो इंडिया में हो, चाहे वो अफ्रीका में हो, वो सब कुछ करता है. वो अपना खाना बनाता है इन द सेंस दैट इट हैज टू सकाळ सकाळ उठून somebody has to go to the fields to tend to the farms, fields and the herds so that you can get your sources of food. Okay, while this is happening, somebody is at home who is going about cooking for you. A process which is long, takes a long period of time, involves a lot of very specialized activities. Most of the time is extremely monotonous and boring, पर फिर भी करना पड़ता है क्योंकि उसके अलावा आपके पास ऑप्शन नहीं है. Okay, you grow your crops, you grow your cotton, you get your herds which are going to go about giving you wool, you cook your food, you make your clothes, you build your homes, you maintain them. So practically every aspect of life is what goes about occupying every part of the known day. And on top of all of this, you have a major problem कि possibly after the sun goes down, there is going to be no light. त्यामुळे एकदा का the sun is gone, it's perfectly dark. Mobility becomes limited. You can't move over spaces. You have got to be where you are. Your sources of lighting are meager and depend upon तुम्हारे इनकम का सोर्स क्या है. So अगर तुम्हारा इनकम ज्यादा है तो पॉसिबली आपके पास कुछ एक ऐसा लाइट का सोर्स होगा कि जो आपको शायद रात का एक बहुत बड़ा वक्त जो है उसमें लाइट देगा. पर अगर आपका सोर्स ऑफ इनकम मीगर है तो you got to depend on small or big candles which are possibly going to burn for a couple of hours and after that they are gone. So you've got to be very careful with whatever you're doing. You have a limited amount of time which is dependent on the light which is available to you outside. As compared to all of this, and when you compare it with, say for example us, they used to sleep longer hours, which was obvious. Because they lived in a world wherein it was just not possible. कि after a point of time तुम्ही काय करू शकता याच्यावरती भरपूर लिमिटेशन्स आहेत. म्हणजे you might go out and gamble, you might go out for a walk, you might go out and do something else, पण याच्यातल्या सगळ्या ऍक्टिव्हिटीज ह्या अत्यंत लिमिटेड आहेत. त्या रोजच्या रोज होत नाहीत. म्हणजे प्री 18th century वर्ल्ड मध्ये, फॉर दॅट मॅटर ऑफ फॅक्ट इवन प्री 19th century वर्ल्ड मध्ये, बिफोर इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बिकेम नॉर्मल, पीपल डिड नॉट गो फॉर अ डान्स एव्हरी नाईट. इट वॉज जस्ट नॉट पॉसिबल. The sort of clubbing and dancing activities that we identify with them were irregular, were connected with a couple of feasts and festivals at different times of the year. But it wasn't possible to go to a club practically every night and find a dance floor which is full of people who are eager to dance. तो उनका दुनिया अलग है, उनका सेंस ऑफ थिंग्स बहुत अलग है, उनका डिविजन ऑफ टाइम एंड स्पेस बहुत ही अलग है. Okay, once you have electricity coming in and lighting up the night almost as if it is day, you live in a world which is thoroughly changed. It's impossible to imagine a world before that. तो इसकी वजह से ये लोग जो है इनका मॉरलिटी का सेंस भी अलग है. काय चांगलं असतं, काय वाईट असतं, काय खरं असतं, काय खोटं असतं, काय बरं असतं काय वाईट. सो दे हॅव दिस व्हेरी स्ट्रॉंग आयडिया ऑफ वॉट इज कॉल्ड एज गॉड, which is identified with light, and a certain sort of satanic or demonic force which is identified with darkness. But once you have the light lighting up the night almost as if it is day, so it's almost like God has extended his stay. So in a way, जो आप light के साथ associate करते हो in terms of divinity can be associated also with the night, because even the night now gets lit up. But at the same time, work undergoes a change. It starts becoming more specialized. This activity that everyone has to do everything is out of the window. So everyone need not do everything. You can go about classifying things, you can go about specializing in certain things, and you can have specific people who are doing specific activities. So you have a division in things which now starts becoming real. But this also comes up with, as I said, mass production of things. So huge amount of things are manufactured at one and the same time. अब वो जो मैन्युफैक्चर किए जा रहे हैं उन चीज़ों को कंज्यूम करना है. Somebody has to consume it at, so somebody has to have wages which are going to make it affordable for them to consume it. So you are going to be paid wages in accordance with it. The first, second and third industrial revolutions were largely connected with and were largely responsible for what is called as democratizing the world. So it's quite possible for us to live in a situation wherein we need not be ruled by kings, emperors who are going to go about monopolizing power. So ये पूरे तीन के जो phases है are also connected with a movement from political absolutism towards what is called as political democratization. So democratization एकदम एक तरह से inevitable बन जाता है. Okay. Fourth gives you the resources where interestingly enough democracy becomes in a certain way universal. But at the same time, given the fact that most of these resources are equally in a certain way available only to certain sections of society on account of their affordabilities, on account of the prices at which they are as of now available, तो एक ये फेज भी है जिसके साथ आपको रहना है कि जिसमें शायद डेमोक्रेसी का वो जो पूरा एक चलन है गेट सर्कमस्क्राइब्ड इन अ मैनर. So you find that it's not possible, like this is good enough that we all live in a digital world. But is it possible to live in the same sort of digital world wherein everyone has access to machines which are processed in a similar manner with a similar amount of speed and volume? So on one hand there's a talk of a 4G, whereas on the other hand you in India as of now are living with a large population which hasn't even made a transition from the 2G things to the 3G things. तो 4G तो बहुत आगे की बात है. काफी बड़ा पॉपुलेशन आपका फोन यूजर्स का ऐसा है कि जिसने 2G से लेके 3G तक का भी ट्रांजिशन नहीं किया. सो ऐसा वाला कंडीशन में यू हैव गॉट टू बी वेरी केयरफुल विद द सॉर्ट ऑफ क्लेम्स व्हिच आर मेड एज फार द फोर्थ वन इज कंसर्न्ड. The fourth one calls in for reorganizing practically every aspect of society, government and markets that we know of as they are in existence as of now. So practically everything gets rejigged, practically everything gets reorganized. पर ये रीऑर्गेनाइजेशन का जो प्रोसेस है, मतलब एक स्टेज है कि जो इस पूरी प्रोसेस के बाद आएगा. शायद उस स्टेज में थिंग्स माइट गो बैक टू द ओल्ड नॉर्मल wherein everyone will have access to everything. But there's a transition phase through which you are as of now living wherein everyone doesn't have access to everything. And that phase is the most dangerous phase, because this is the phase which is going to in a certain way set the stage for the next one. In terms of what are the identities which you are going to adopt, how do you look at yourself and the world around you. So त्या case में this phase is the one which has to be handled well. But if you have, say for example, the sort of situation in which we are, wherein governments are sold on to this idea that, well, a digital world is a certain sort of perfect world, a digital world is a certain sort of absolute world, like universal world hai, and you need not be worried about it. It's going to be safe, it's going to be secure, it's going to be a prosperous world for everyone. Then in that sort of situation, one really has got to question as to how is one going to reach till there. मतलब आप वहां तक पहुंचने वाले कैसे हो. जैसे एक तरफ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने आपको, I think at last count what I know of is they have announced these schemes which almost are 300 crore rupees worth of incentivizing people using all manner of e-payment facilities. So ये कैशलेस वाला पूरा जो किस्सा है ये 300-350 के आसपास की 300-350 करोड़ के आसपास की स्कीम्स है. Okay, on one hand is this idea that we have got to push ourselves towards a digital thing. On the other hand, the government of India has not cancelled off this whole notion of printing notes. So एक तरफ जब आप populations को incentivize कर रहे हो कि they should be using what are called as digital modes of financial transactions, you have not given up on the cash volume as such. You're almost trying to print the same amount of notes जो demonetize हो चुके हैं. तो अब वैसा क्यों कर रहे हो? अगर पर्पस ये है कि वी ऑल हैव गॉट टू मूव टुवर्ड्स व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज अ डिजिटल फ्रंटियर wherein everything, all financial transactions get digitized, okay, then and we move towards what is called as not a less cash society but possibly a cashless society. So why do you need to print notes, and especially in the same volumes as they have been demonetized? So एक तरफ जहाँ पे governments, especially in the developing world, are sold on to this idea of promise of what exactly is it that the fourth industrial revolution is capable of delivering, they are equally skeptical as to how universal would this whole thing be. Is it possible for us to really live in that sort of a situation? Okay, तो एक तरफ ये है कि हम लोग ये कह रहे हैं कि हमको ये करना है, दूसरी तरफ you have new sort of discoveries, inventions which are made practically every day. तीसरी तरफ most of these inventions are also, मतलब there was a certain difference as far as the first three were concerned and this one is concerned. In the sense, at least the first two and the last two are concerned. First two में every invention needed quite a lot of time before it could become a marketable thing. एक तरफ inventions होते रहे, दूसरी तरफ they had to spend a lot of time in terms of finding what is called as a ready market for whatever they are inventing. They needed a lot of time to convince people that this is useful, you can invest in it, and it can become something of use as far as generating profits is concerned. आखिरी दो जो है ना, उनको ये प्रॉब्लम कभी सताता नहीं है. The fourth one though doesn't even have a problem in terms of how do I market my invention. The minute I do something new, there also would be a ready chunk of investors who is ready to invest in whatever I have done. Most of these investors need not come from those frontiers of what is called as a nation state. They can practically come from all across the world. We are looking out for that. The sort of Indian companies which you have in this category that is called as e-commerce and e-retail are very interested in getting money from outside. All that they want the government of India to do is stop outside firms from operating in India. And that sort of sums this up for you in a certain way कि इसका प्रॉब्लम क्या है, इसका चैलेंज क्या है और इसका प्रॉब्लम क्या है. सो हमको फ्लिपकार्ट को बाहर से पैसा लाने में हमको कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. सो फ्लिपकार्ट कैन गेट मनी फ्रॉम सिंगापुर, फ्लिपकार्ट कैन गेट मनी फ्रॉम अमेरिका, फ्लिपकार्ट कैन गेट मनी फ्रॉम यूरोप, बट फ्लिपकार्ट वांट्स द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया टू स्टॉप Amazon from expanding in India. So Flipkart doesn't want Amazon to expand in India. So Flipkart wants Amazon to be curbed in India to a certain level so that the field becomes open for firms like Flipkart to a certain extent where they can go about making money. आता याच्यातला एक डिलेमा जो आहे, याच्यातला एक प्रॉब्लेम जो आहे, ही मागणी केली गेलेली आहे with the present government in India, which is of the type of nationalistic government that it is, and I need not even talk about it कि how stupidly nationalistic they are. सो इन अ सर्टन वे ये मांग एक ऐसे टाइम पे आता है कि जिस टाइम पे आपको मालूम है कि इस मांग को स्टेट के लेवल पे शायद रिस्पॉन्ड किया जा सकता है. ओके, एंड वन नीड नॉट बी वरीड अबाउट दिस फॉर अ सिंपल रीजन, कारण अ लॉट ऑफ दीज टेक्नोलॉजीज इन द पास्ट हैव डेव्हलप्ड इन क्लोज कनेक्शन विथ द स्टेट. म्हणजे तुम्ही जर अनेक प्रकारच्या ज्या इलेक्ट्रॉनिक टेक्नॉलॉजीज आहेत, इफ यू लुक एट से फॉर एक्झाम्पल द नेट इज अ क्लासिकल एक्झाम्पल ऑफ इट. वाय डू आय नीड टू think of any other invention? The net developed as a program of the American Defense Department. The net flourished for quite some period of time as a program which was bankrolled by the American government and possibly had only one single major client in terms of the American armed forces. Okay, it's much later on that the net will gather the amount of volume that it now has and will become the sort of universal thing that it now is. पर जब इसका आगाज हुआ था, जब ये एक तरह से शुरू हो चुका था, तो ये एक इतना वाला यूनिवर्सल आइडिया नहीं था. ये एक बहुत ही, जिसको हम बोलते हैं ना, लैबोरेटरी इंक्यूबेटेड सॉर्ट ऑफ आइडिया था, जिसका फ्लो, जिसका एक तरह से रीच बहुत लिमिटेड था. Okay, so lot of these things which you as of now see and are quite accessible, are quite possessed all over the world, once upon a time did not start off with the sort of promise that they now have. They started off as small activities of small number of people, which most of the time were bankrolled by what is called as governments. So government departments है, public sector firms है, government funded agencies है, जिन्होंने इनको एक तरह से possible बनाया था. ओके, प्रॉब्लम एक ही है, फ्लिपकार्ट हैज नथिंग टू इनोवेट, नथिंग. म्हणजे द बंसल्स एंड अग्रवाल्स ऑफ द वर्ल्ड, आई एम वेरी सॉरी टू पुट इट दैट ब्लंटली, हैव नो कैपेसिटी एंड नो ब्रेन्स फॉर इनोवेशन. वो जुगाड़ी कर सकते हैं, वो इनोवेट नहीं कर सकते हैं. And Indians have a very wrong idea that jugaad is equal to innovation or invention, which it is not. These people are not capable of it. इनका वो दिमाग नहीं है. हाँ, what they can do is they can create a scale of operation. They can create a certain sort of what is called as diversity in operation. But that's a feature of Indian society and India where they are operating. So एक किस्म का scale create. Let's think that the Modi government decides to give in to Bhavesh Agarwal and the Bansals, not related to each other. I don't know why do they write it that way. ते दोघेही एकमेकांबद्दल जे काही लिहिलं जातं त्याच्यामध्ये कायम कॉन्सेप्ट असं लिहिलं जातं की हे दोघं एकमेकाशी रिलेटेड नाहीये. It's such a nonsense way of trying to prove that we have moved into a post-caste phase of things in India. तुम्ही एकमेकाशी रिलेटेड नाहीये हे तुम्ही आम्हाला कशाला सांगत बसता. मग बन्सल रिलेटेड जरी नसले तरी बन्सल म्हणजे असं काही नाहीये ना की एक ब्राह्मण आहे आणि एक शूद्र आहे, असं तो कोई कंडिशन नाहीये. सो व्हॉट इज इट दॅट यू आर ट्राइंग टू इम्प्रेस? लाइक वी हॅव मूव्ड इनटू अ पोस्ट कास्ट फेज ऑफ ऑपरेशन इन दिस कंट्री. तुम्ही आता काही जरी केलं तरी तुमच्या नाही होऊ शकत ते. तुम्ही होपलेसली कास्टिस्ट अँड पॉइंटलेस आहे. So try to impress this by doing this sort of a PRO activity. You know, Bansal and Bansal, Sachin Bansal and Binny Bansal, not related to each other. I don't know why do the business papers spend their time writing all of that. But anyway, no, that is not the matter that I want to detain myself with. They are idiots and nobody can help them. But if, say for example, the government of India accepts that Uber and Amazon should be kept away from the Indian market, मग दोघं जण काय करणार आहेत? They want to create a scale of operation which is going to be large. They want to create operations which are going to be quite diverse. But that is not what Ola or Flipkart is doing. That simply is a feature of the Indian conditions in which you are operating. That is something that anybody can do if you give them the permission to do that. So मेरा मानना ऐसा है कि इन लोगों को बिल्कुल प्रोटेक्ट नहीं करना चाहिए because they are hopeless. There is no point in protecting them. Because they are not capable of inventing anything new under the sun. They are merely imitators and they have always been imitators. मग बन्सल आणि अग्रवाल ह्या नावाची माणसं काहीही इन्व्हेंट करू शकत नाहीत. ते फक्त गोष्टी इमिटेट करू शकतात. They are smart at imitating. They are smart at creating an impression that whatever they have imitated is as original as is possible. Claims which now fall flat given the sort of communicative world in which we live. तुम्ही आज पिक्चर बनवा, तुम्हाला दुसऱ्या दिवशी सकाळी दुसऱ्या दिवशी नाही अर्ध्या तासात लोक सांगणार की तुम्ही हा पिक्चर ढापला का नाही, आणि तुम्ही ढापतच बसता, तुम्ही काहीच करू शकत नाही. So the problem doesn't get resolved. So there's no reason why they should be protected at all. This whole idea that it would serve India better if we keep Ola, if we keep Uber, if we keep Amazon, if we keep Alibaba and all of them from the Indian market. It would actually serve the Indian consumer better if we let all of them operate in India. But at the end of the day, this is about consumption. This is about pure consumption at the end of the entire story. So कोई जरूरत नहीं इन लोगों को protect करने की. You should throw it open, let them compete with them, let them better prune their processes, use their money in a better manner, and if they are not capable of it, let them die. Nobody should be worried about it. There is no reason why you should be worried about this. If you look at all those gorgeous lists of Indian industry and commerce, firms which were in existence in 1947 when India became free, there are very few firms of those which are now in existence. So most of those firms are now dead and gone. People don't even know their names. सो ऐसा कोई कंपल्शन नहीं है कि इंडिया शुड गो अबाउट प्रोटेक्टिंग बंसल एंड बंसल अनरिलेटेड टू ईच अदर just because of the fact that they feel that there's something nationalistic about this. There's nothing nationalistic about it. You should give up on this. This now pushes, the fourth industrial revolution pushes you into a situation wherein you collaborate at a global level, wherein you work at a global level, when you derive all your benefits on account of the fact that you are working at a global level. इसका जो मीडियम है उसको वो सेंस ऑफ डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं है जो पुरानी चीजों को था. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी ग्रिड्स कुड ऑलवेज बी मैनेज्ड नेशनली एंड कुड बी क्रिएटेड नेशनली. द टेक्नोलॉजीज व्हिच कम अप विद दिस आर टेक्नोलॉजीज व्हिच आर इन द फर्स्ट प्लेस डेवलप्ड बिकॉज दे मूव्ड आउट ऑफ दैट इनबॉक्स थिंकिंग ऑफ व्हाट इज कॉल्ड द नेशन स्टेट, एंड देयर इज नो वे ऑफ पुटिंग देम बैक इनटू दैट नेशन स्टेट मोल्ड. But at the same time, one has got to be very clear about this. Transition phases are always dangerous phases. They last long at times if governments are not capable of pushing in for policies which will make transitions easier. The transition that we are now making from, say for example, the second, third to the fourth is going to be, in the case of a number of countries, a very painful transition. It's going to take a lot of time. It is going to go about disrupting a lot of things. It's going to go about destroying livelihoods and lives in the way in which you have never imagined before. But what it delivers, on the other hand, is, I'm not going to take a final call on this by saying कि ये किस level तक inevitable है. But at least to whatever claims they go about making, it definitely is inevitable. So talking of a situation which is completely unprecedented, thoroughly different and new as compared to what the older one was. One reason why we are pushing in for this is by, say for example, making a claim of the type which has been made. Now just let me put some facts and figures while we are talking about this. According to the International Federation of Robotics, nations with the highest density of industrial robots include South Korea, which has 531 industrial robots per 10,000 employees. Then you have Japan with 305 per 10,000 employees, and then you have Germany with 301 per 10,000 employees. The United States ranks 8th with 176. China is well behind with 49, but is on the brighter side in the sense that the Chinese government is pushing in for a situation wherein this will keep on rising. So as of now, what you have are these types of countries. Ata, what is very unique about all these three countries? जो पहली नंबर वन तीनों कंट्रीज है, साउथ कोरिया, जापान एंड जर्मनी. These are countries which in a certain way have a problem with what is called as human migration. Okay, in the best of situations, they would like to stop anyone from migrating to their countries. Germany, as of now, while I'm speaking to you, I'm quite clear about this, is a complete, जिसको हम बोलते हैं outlier in all of this, because Germany is, at least in the last 2 years, a country which has been seen as more welcoming of migrants. But it's an untold story and it's an incomplete story. Germany किस किस्म के migrants को encourage कर रही है, इसका एक special किस्म का characteristic feature है. Germany तमाम migrants को encourage नहीं कर रही है. Germany as of now is letting them come in, but Germany doesn't have a universal sort of an agreement within Germany that we have got to let them stay on. So all that it is doing as of now is it's just opened its doors to let them come in. की तुम्ही या, पण आमच्याकडे अजूनही at the level of society and polity, we are not in agreement about how many of these are we going to let on live for a longer time. Do we want them to stay on? We as of now have resolved just one crisis as far as perception through the media across the world is concerned. We don't want to appear a stingy, illiberal, intolerant country in terms of the fact that we have thousands of people who are taking all ways possible, land as well as sea routes, to reach Germany. And you suddenly come to a country which tells you that नहीं हमारे दरवाजे बंद है, आप अंदर नहीं आ सकते हो. तो हमको वो किस्म का मीडिया परसेप्शन क्रिएट नहीं करना है, तो इसलिए हमने हमारा दरवाजा खोल के रख दिया है ये कहते हुए कि आप अंदर आओ. पर अंदर आने के बाद हमारा कोई इरादा नहीं है टू लेट यू लिव ऑन. वी हैव अ परफेक्ट प्लान इन पोजीशन whereby in stages and in steps, with nobody realizing it, in batches, we want to send you back to the countries from where you have come. And they have already started doing it. जसं जसं पार्लिमेंटरी इलेक्शन विल कम क्लोजर, तसं तसं ह्याच्यातल्या अनेक केसेस ऑफ रिपॅट्रिएटिंग दीज रेफ्युजीज is going to start becoming cases wherein there is going to be a certain vocality and visibility of it. So यांची संख्या वाढणार आहे. जर्मन आत्ता सरकारमध्ये असलेल्या पार्टीज इन्क्रीजिंगली हे तुम्हाला दाखवण्याचा प्रयत्न करणार आहेत की वी आर पुशिंग पीपल आउट, बिकॉज दॅट इज अ बेसिस ऑन विच दे आर गोइंग टू गो अँड आस्क फॉर वोट्स. सो ॲज ऑफ नाव जरी त्यांनी तुम्हाला असं दाखवलं असलं की वी आर लेटिंग पीपल इन, वी डोंट हॅव एनी प्लॅन ऑफ लेटिंग पीपल स्टे ऑन. ते जर बघितलं ना तर जर्मनी, जपान आणि साऊथ कोरिया तिन्ही कंट्रीज आर युनिकली इन द सेम लीग. They are completely forbidding and very unwelcoming of something that is called as migrants. We don't like people coming in. On the other hand, all three countries have a major problem with what is called as declining ratios as far as population growth is concerned. So आपका population growth जो है वो limited है, मुश्किल से वो 1 या 1.5% के, in most of these countries 1 और 1.5 भी नहीं, वो तो उससे भी decline पे है. So in that sort of situation, your own national populations are not increasing. You are not letting people come in from outside. You are already the world's second largest, fourth largest, fifth largest economies. So त्या case मध्ये the only thing left with you to retain your levels of economic growth is to let machines start working for you. So the reason why you have these high ranges, most of these robots are what are called as industrial robots. Most of them are extremely well developed. They are quite capable of performing a large range of functions which have till date been performed by human beings with more accuracy, more precision, and at much lesser prices. So one of the reasons why they are preferred as far as most of these industries are concerned is because now the price of installing one rather than not installing it is something that is more affordable. And the benefits that you are going to derive after having an installed one are incrementally larger every year. So that's the reason why you now prefer this, कि it's perfectly all right. एक तो आपका पॉपुलेशन बढ़ने वाला नहीं है, वो किसी भी कंडीशन में बढ़ने वाला नहीं है. आपको किसी भी कंडीशन में बाहर से लोगों को अंदर लेने का नहीं है. तो in that sort of situation, the only option left with you as your population keeps on becoming old is how do you maintain these levels of productivity and growth. And the only one answer to it is by increasing the number of machines which you are working with. So keep on increasing the machines so that what is going to happen over a period of time, and that is the reason why the Chinese are into the game. The Chinese problem is declining numbers as far as labor force growth is concerned, declining productivity as far as the labor force which is already in work is concerned. We have no other option but to keep on increasing the machines. ये machines और ज़्यादा sophisticated होते जाने वाली है, ये मशीन्स और ज़्यादा वॉल्यूमिनस और डेक्स्ट्रस किस्म के जॉब्स करने वाली है, एंड इन टर्न दे आर गोइंग टू कीप ऑन डिराइविंग ह्यूज प्रॉफिट्स एज फार द फर्म्स व्हिच आर डिप्लॉयिंग दीज मशीन्स आर कंसर्न्ड. सेफ है, दे कैन वर्क इन कंडीशंस वेयर इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल टू डिप्लॉय ह्यूमन बीइंग्स. सो इन अ सर्टेन वे इट्स अबाउट जॉब्स व्हिच आर डेंजरस, इट्स अबाउट जॉब्स व्हिच आर डर्टी, इट्स अबाउट जॉब्स व्हिच रिक्वायर अ सर्टेन सॉर्ट ऑफ मोनोटनी ऑफ वर्क. That's the reason why it has been time and again asked in India as to why are we, when it comes to things like Swachh Bharat, looking at human beings on the road with jhadus in their hands, howsoever glamorous those human beings might be. There might be an Amitabh Bachchan, there might be a John Abraham, there might be a Hema Malini, but why are we looking at human beings out on the roads with those jhadus? Why are we not thinking in terms of using machines to do that work? So one reason obviously for a country like India is that cleaning up these types of spaces is basically a function of public money. And looking at the sort of machines which are available, you would need vast amount of public money to be deployed for it. Since we don't have any universal agreement about it, म्हणजे माणसं गटारात जाऊन मेलेली आम्हाला परवडतील. कारण की त्यांना काय करणार आहोत सर, त्यांची मागच्या जन्माची कर्मच अशी आहेत, त्याच्यामुळे त्यांच्या जन्मी या जन्मी त्यांच्यावरती ही अशी वेळ आली आहे. But we are not going to go about using machines for these types of things. So given the fact कि एक universal agreement नहीं है, okay, and this agreement is never going to happen because you are a bloody casteist society. वो तुम्हारा दिमाग कास्टिस्ट है, तुम्हारा पूरा जहन कास्टिस्ट है, उसका कॉन्शियस कास्टिस्ट है, उसका इमोशंस कास्टिस्ट है, उसका पैशंस कास्टिस्ट है, तो यू आर नेवर गोइंग टू बी इन अ पोजिशन टू रियलाइज व्हाट नीड्स टू बी डन एंड यू आर परमानेंटली गोइंग टू कीप ऑन डूइंग द रॉन्ग थिंग. इट्स एज सिंपल एज दैट. सो जगभरामध्ये लोक मशीन्स वापरतात फॉर अ व्हेरी सिंपल रिझन, बिकॉज इट ॲट द एंड ऑफ द डे टेक्स केअर ऑफ जॉब्स विच आर डेंजरस इन नेचर. We are the only country in the world which keeps on employing people for those types of jobs. I don't know, how do you look at that one? पण ह्या ज्या डेव्हलप्ड कंट्रीज आहेत, या कमीत कमी द 3 टॉप countries which use the largest number of machines have a common problem on their hand. These are countries with declining populations. These are countries with declining labor productivities. These are countries which are universally homogeneous and do not have an idea of encouraging migration. So in the absence of that, machines is the only way out. आणि त्याच्यामुळे हुशार लोकांना साधारणपणे असं वाटायला लागलेलं आहे, जगभरातल्या सगळ्या लोकांनी लेबर प्रोडक्टिव्हिटीवरती एकच उपाय करावा, आणि तो उपाय म्हणजे पीपल शुड कीप ऑन युझिंग मोर मशीन्स. पण दिस इज युनिक. As I said, this is extremely unique. This is a different story altogether. You cannot compare India with Germany or with South Korea. You cannot compare India with Japan. And hence you cannot argue for this, that even in the Indian context, this is what needs to be done. Okay, but that's one thing that we have got to be very, very clear. But the second big thing that in the Indian context that we have got to be clear is, well, the 4th industrial revolution is going to keep on delivering a range of technologies to you which need not be universally uniform. ओके, सो एक फेज जो था, सेकंड वाला था, थर्ड वाला था, जिसमें चीजें जो थी वो मास प्रोडक्शन में जाती थी, एंड मोस्ट ऑफ द थिंग्स वर यूनिफॉर्म in terms of most of the machines look similar, most of the products look similar, you had little choice, everything was drab and of a similar nature. The 4th one, given the sort of technologies that it is coming up with, is in a position for what is called as customization. And ऐसा customization जो individuated customization है. आप बोलिए आपको क्या चाहिए? This whole Internet of Things idea of using the Internet of Things for manufacturing things when it comes to 3D printing is essentially about what is called as individuated customization. So you need not be worried about this, that you're going to have a situation wherein that one size fits all वाला जो problem था, जो आपके पुराने दोनों revolutions का था, वो इस revolution का नहीं है. It is going to keep on delivering machines to you. It is going to keep on delivering technologies to you, which would suit your times, which would suit the requirements of the societies in which these are adapted. As a consequence of it, something which is hardly noticed in India is we are already into it. So for example, if you look at a very interesting thing, I need to, now be very careful about what I'm trying to say and what I'm trying to push in for. This comes from a report which has been detailed and has been made public by the RBI itself. In the 2 decades between 1991-92 to 2011-2012, total employment in India witnessed a compounded annual growth rate of 1.43%. So 1991-92, the year when the reform started, to 2011-12, ओके, ये पूरा जो 20 साल का पीरियड है, इसमें आपका जो एम्प्लॉयमेंट ग्रोथ है वो 1.43% है. द वर्स्ट केस सिनेरियो इज एम्प्लॉयमेंट ग्रोथ इन द लास्ट डेकेड, दैट इज 2001, 2002 to 2011-12, is just 1.2%. What is very interesting is in this decade in which employment growth is 1.2%, gross value added is 7.8%. ग्रॉस वैल्यू एडेड नाम का जो कंसेप्ट है, कि जिसमें ग्रॉस वैल्यू, आई पुट इन अ वेरी सिंपल एग्जांपल. कपास जो है, कपास बीइंग टर्न्ड इनटू यार्न, सो इट कैन बी फर्दर टर्न्ड इनटू समथिंग दैट इज कॉल्ड एज फैब्रिक. सो एवरी स्टेज ऑफ दिस, लाइक रॉ कॉटन गेटिंग टर्न्ड इनटू समथिंग कॉल्ड एज यार्न, यू आर एडिंग वैल्यू टू इट. Yarn getting converted into fabric, you are adding value to it. Fabric getting converted into textiles, you are adding value to it. Textiles getting turned into products which are going to be branded so that they can be sold in stores, you are adding value to it. So every stage of this production process involves what is called as adding value to it. सो वैल्यू एडिशन जो है, अब किसी केस में वैल्यू एडिशन जो है वो मैनुअल हो सकता है, किसी केस में वैल्यू एडिशन जो है वो एडेड बाय मशीन्स एंड टेक्नोलॉजीज हो सकता है. पर ग्रॉस वैल्यू एडेड इन द सेम डेकेड जिसमें एम्प्लॉयमेंट वाज 1.2%, ग्रॉस वैल्यू एडेड वाज 7.8%, which obviously means that वो जो 1.2 और 7.8 के बीच वाला 6 का डिफरेंस है is a consequence of what is called as mechanization automation. So value addition processes जो है वो value addition processes in a country like India are increasingly becoming automated and increasingly becoming mechanized. And that's the reason why that employment वाला किस्सा जो है वो 1.4 से जाके reduce होके 1.2 तक आ जाता है. ह्याला अत्यंत साध्या सोप्या भाषेमध्ये जॉबलेस ग्रोथ असं म्हणतात. म्हणजे इकॉनॉमी कीप्स ऑन ग्रोइंग, इट शोज यू इंक्रीजिंग फिगर्स year upon year. The one thing that it doesn't show you is what is called as employment. अच्छा, 2001 to 2011 जो है is believed to be one of the most fabulous phases of economic growth in this country. If one of the most fabulous phases which gave you growth rates of 7%, 8%, 9% and 10% for 2 years could not add jobs. You can very well imagine कि आज की तारीख में हाल क्या है. अच्छा, जो अच्छा चल रहा था वो भी बिगाड़ दिया गया. Until almost August, September, this year had a perfect record in terms of the amount of growth that we were witnessing, and one of the best reasons and results for it was a decline in oil and commodity prices. So India, given the fact that it depends almost 78-80% of its fuel requirements come as part of imports and is also a net importer of a large range of commodities, had a very good time till August, September on account of the fact that these prices were largely suppressed at the level of the world markets. And then comes November, then you have what you had on your hand and now you have fun. इतना लक्षात. सो सोचो इसके बारे में कि ये जो पूरा फेज था कि जिसमें वैल्यू एडेड बदला, बढ़ा, ग्रोथ बढ़ा, पर उस फेज में growth as far as employment is concerned is as low as 1.2%. As I said, if you look at the growth rates, they average between 7 to 10%. If you look at value added as a consequence of growth, it is almost 7.8%. But in this entire phase, employment growth is just 1.2%. Acha, or more interesting thing. Now all of this comes from the same report. I am not changing the report at all. The number of people who were workers in regular employment in 1991-92, these are what are called as people in regular employment, is barely 13%. People who are casual workers in 1991-92 is 31%. People who are self-employed in 1991-92 is 55%. 20 years later in 2011-12, the picture increases and changes in the following manner. Regular employment, you have 18.5%. So जो 13% था वो बढ़ के 18.5 बना है. Okay, casual workers declines from 31% to 29%, and self-employed declined from 55% to 51%. So रेगुलर एम्प्लॉयमेंट वाला जो पोजीशन है वो पोजीशन आपका 15%, 13% से लेके 18% तक बढ़ता है, for a simple reason, because you have witnessed these 2 decades of economic growth in which the number of firms which have been established in the country have kept on increasing, in which the number of government departments which are taking care of these firms have also consequently witnessed an increase. So on one hand you have both the public as well as the private sector witnessing a situation of what is called as establishment growth. And as a consequence of those establishment growths, what you have is you move from a figure of regular employment from 13 to 18%. और ये जो 13 to 18% वाला growth है ना, this exactly is the place where you're going to lose jobs in the coming few years. You're not going to lose jobs in the casual sector thing. You're not going to lose jobs when it comes to self-employed people. You're going to lose jobs exactly in that regular employment wala section. That's one more. The next one is equally interesting. Agriculture and allied activities in 1991 were a total of 64% of total employment. Okay, trade accounted for 7.5% and construction accounted for 3.3%. This is 1991. 20 years later, agriculture accounts for 48%. Interestingly enough, construction accounts for 10%. So वो जो 64 था, जो जाके 48 बना, where were the jobs created? The jobs were created in what is called the construction sector. Was that, as I have time and again told you, people coming from the farms in a country like India, in places like Africa, in most of the cases in Southeast Asia in the 1960s, are capable of only one simple thing. They can work on construction sites. There is no other thing that they can do. And that is what it shows you कि 64% जो आपका agricultural employment है, it goes down to almost 48%. But at the same time, what you have is ये 3.3 वाला जो आपका construction sector है, increases itself all the way to 10%. Interesting. Another, trade becomes 9.7%, which was 7.5%, and transport and storage, the Ubers and the Flipkarts of the world, now account for 4.1% of total employment in the country. पण हे सगळे जे जॉब्स आहेत ना, हे सगळे जॉब्स अत्यंत डायसी आहेत, इन द सेंस दैट ये कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल है, ये इरेग्युलर है, मोस्ट ऑफ देम आर सीजनल एट टाइम्स. So this is not what we can rely on in terms of what is called as decent regular employment. And most of these are now in a situation wherein they can be displaced. So for a country like India, construction was a very important sector in terms of moving people away from agriculture. But as you get these new technologies whereby you can go about building what are called as prefab structures, so structures which have already been prefabricated but just need to be put into position, ये construction वाले jobs are done. You don't need people working in those large numbers as far as these jobs are concerned. So जैसा जैसा construction keeps moving into what is called as the prefab situation, be it roads, be it homes and commercial spaces, be it these large structures which get built. I don't know how many times you have marveled at this, की तुमच्या लहानपणी एक घर बांधायला किती वेळ लागायचा आणि आत्ताच्या घडीला ज्या वेळेला ते साईट फोडतात टू बिल्ड समथिंग, how much time does it take them to complete that entire thing? And why does it take them that less an amount of time? If in less amount of time they can get this job done, तो मग ही लोक जातात कुठं? Are you getting it? So the major problem that you are living with as far as being India are concerned, कि how does one deal with a situation like this? कि on one hand you have this fourth industrial business delivering a vast range of modern technologies which are essential as far as firms are concerned to work in a manner wherein things can become more profitable for them. But as I said, do not imagine a situation की जसे से फॉर एक्झाम्पल एखाद्या वेस्टर्न किंवा अमेरिकन किंवा जॅपनीज चीजमध्ये तुम्हाला रोबोट्स बघायला मिळतात, त्या प्रकारचे रोबोट्स आपल्या इथं नाही आहेत. पण म्हणून आर वी इन अ सिच्युएशन वेअर ऑटोमेशन अँड मेकॅनायझेशन इज नॉट हॅपनिंग? Are we in a situation wherein, say for example, most of these technologies are working in a manner which is very similar to the Western one? So what you have got to remember is you are getting technologies which are customized to your situation. And those technologies are doing the job of displacement as far as we in India are concerned. उससे भी ज़्यादा interesting चीज़ ये है, in a large number of cases, say for example, as far as we in cities of India are concerned, have to be really worried about this. कि एक idea ये था कि you have the government sector, was most jobs are now looked upon as what are called as jobs which would be created by the public sector, for good or for evil. When these public sector jobs का भी एक stage के बाद problem आने वाला है, especially with a state which is sold out to a neoliberal idea which says that it has got to cut down on its expenditure. Most of these so-called public sector jobs that you are looking out for are not exactly jobs which are available for a lifetime to you. So there was a time, once upon a time in India in the 1950s, 60s, you got in and you got out. You got in when you were, say for example, in your 20s or 30s, you got out when you were in your 50s or 60s. That is not the situation in which you are going to live in even in the public sector. The coming machines are going to go about displacing huge number of things even in the public sector. And especially for governments which are sold on to this neoliberal idea that public expenditure is a major crisis, has to be curtailed for a whole host of fiscal as well as issues which are related to corruption and so on and so forth. So ऐसा वाला situation में तो they are very happily going to go about adopting technologies wherein a lot of things become very redundant. They don't need to observe you, they don't need to work on you. You do a Paytm transaction, you are creating an electronic trail which is feeding into this whole idea called as big data. All that they need is smart software which has been written for them which can go about analyzing this data. उसके लिए उनको इंसान का जरूरत नहीं है कि इस डेटा को एनालाइज करना है. Smart software of a certain variety which goes about analyzing this data for them can go about creating whatever sort of inferences that they need from that data. So do they need you in those positions? The plain answer is no. Plain simple answer is बिल्कुल ही जरूरत नहीं है. And especially in situations where they are very worried about this. For example, government expenditure in India, when it comes to total consumption expenditure, comes to almost 25%. For the state, this is a major problem, an absolutely major problem that needs to be tackled. Acha, sit with the government of the Modi variety, which is more sold on to ideas called as technocracy, फिर तो आपका प्रॉब्लम और भी बढ़ता है कि ऐसा वाला गवर्नमेंट कि जिसका एनिमेटिंग फीचर ही ये है कि वी हैव एक्सेप्टेड द फैक्ट टेक्नोलॉजी डिलीवर्स परफेक्ट सॉल्यूशंस. इट्स परफेक्शन, इट्स अ पैराडाइज. तो उस केस में तो यू आर गोइंग टू कीप ऑन लूजिंग जॉब्स विद मोर रैपिडिटी. That 2 million jobs lost in the public sector wala figure which I've been time and again telling you between 1993 and 2013 is for real. Some of those jobs are never ever going to be filled up with anything ever again. Most of them have been filled up with people who are now working on contractual and irregular basis. पर जैसा जैसे ये टेक्नोलॉजी बढ़ता जाएगा ना वैसा वैसा उसको तुम्हारा जरूरत नहीं है. If a CCTV can watch over things, why do I need a policeman? मैं policeman मेरे लिए करता क्या है? Every nook and cranny of public spaces, if it is adequately covered with what are called as CCTV cameras, जो tamper proof है, can't be easily changed and worked with. Why do I need police? Huh? In the worst case scenarios of urban warfare, I don't even need them to take on somebody. I can very well use a robot for it. One of the worst things which is going to happen in at least the next 4 to 6 years, and which is for real, is this idea called as cars which don't need drivers to drive them. Cars which are programmed in a manner to work in certain situations, in certain spaces, when you really don't need somebody in the driving seat. अगर वो 4 सीटर है ना तो 3 पैसेंजर्स है और 1 ड्राइवर है, ऐसा जरूरत ही नहीं है, चारों भी पैसेंजर्स हो सकते हैं. That's real, that's for real. The whole problem is what do drivers do after that. अगर कार खुद को चलाएगा तो फिर ड्राइवर क्या करेगा? येते काय लक्षात रिक्षावाला एक्झॅक्टली वाट कोणाची बघणार आहे याचा विचार करा.
इंडियामध्ये पॉसिबल नसेल ना तेवढं पॉप्युलेशनच्या रिलेटेड गोष्टी.
ट्रू, पण जसं मी म्हटलं की व्हॉट यू हॅव गॉट टू बी व्हेरी क्लिअर विथ द डेटा दॅट वी हॅव ॲट आवर डिस्पोजल की आपल्याला कित्येकदा असं वाटतंय की ह्याच्यातल्या ज्या गोष्टी वेस्टमध्ये घडत आहेत त्या गोष्टी आपल्याकडे घडणार नाही आहेत, पण ह्याच्यातल्या कित्येक गोष्टी ऑलरेडी सुरू झालेल्या आहेत. ऑलरेडी दे आर देअर इन प्लेस. त्याचा स्केल छोटा असेल म्हणजे फॉर एक्झाम्पल when they say in the West it's a revolution for us, what they're looking at is the speed and the scale with which it is changing things. What they're looking at is the sort of impact that it is creating on their lives. आपल्या केसमध्ये त्याचा स्पीड अँड स्केल कदाचित तेवढा मोठा नाही आहे, पण म्हणून असं नाही की इट्स नॉट हॅपनिंग. इट्स व्हेरी मच हॅपनिंग. It's very much all over the place. Okay, this whole idea that I have a car which I drive for myself and then I have a car which I drive for somebody called as Uber and Ola, that change तो already हुआ ना आपके केस में. तो आपके यहाँ पे already you have millions, not hundreds and thousands, you have millions of drivers who are already working for firms like these. So वो जो एक चीज है ना जिसको आपको हमेशा याद रखना पड़ेगा कि yes, it will not happen on the same scale or in the same manner as it is happening somewhere, but you will have these technologies adapted for Indian conditions. You'll have them customized for us. Driverless cars would definitely in India take up from this point wherein you have an Uber and an Ola driving you. So as of now you have an Uber and an Ola driving you, but the problem with an Uber and an Ola in a country like India is a Uber and an Ola driver is somebody who has a sense of who are the people who are traveling with me, and as such can be a dangerous person. If you look at most of those cases of drivers turning into muggers and drivers turning into rapists, तो वैसा वाला कंडीशन में तो इंडिया में आपको ज्यादा कोशिश भी नहीं करना पड़ेगा टू पुश इन फॉर अ ड्राइवरलेस कार. आना समझ में? थिंक ऑफ ऑल दीज एड्स which have been all around the place, especially in this last 1 month when cash disappeared in India. And just think in terms of वो क्या पिच कर रहे हैं, वो आपको किस तरह से इस चीज के बारे में बताने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि कैशलेस ट्रांजैक्शन इज पॉसिबल. हाँ, as I said, the problem persists. कि if a cashless transaction is possible, तो why is the government printing cash? तो ते क्लिअर आहे किंवा आपण भारतामध्ये आपल्याला वेळ लागणार आहे, आपण कदाचित त्या वेगाने तिथपर्यंत पोहोचणार नाहीये, पण म्हणून असा इम्प्रेशन खाली राहूच नका की आपण त्या केसमध्ये जाणारच नाही. आपल्या केसमध्ये तर इन प्लेसेस लाईक बँगलोर, इन प्लेसेस लाईक गुडगाव, इन प्लेसेस लाईक हरियाणा, इट्स क्वाईट पॉसिबल टू सेल अ ड्रायव्हरलेस कार, बिकॉज दॅट इसेन्शियली मीन्स दॅट द वुमेन पॅसेंजर्स वुड बी परफेक्टली सेफ इन इट. A driverless car is just going to deliver you from point A to point B. It's not going to do the same sort of things that the drivers in cars like Ola and Uber do with you, especially if you are a woman traveling on a late night thing. So अपने इधर तो जरूरत भी नहीं है इससे ज्यादा बात करने का. So don't think it's not going to happen. It's definitely going to happen. It's just a question of टाइमिंग क्या होगा, इज जस्ट अ क्वेश्चन ऑफ स्केल क्या होगा, स्पीड क्या होगा, एंड पिच किस तरह से किया जाएगा. सो इन देयर केस इट इज सोल्ड फॉर अ सिंपल रीजन, बिकॉज वी आर लिविंग इन कंट्रीज वेयर इन पीपल आर बिकमिंग ओल्डर, ड्राइविंग इज टीडियस, इट टेक्स अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम एंड अटेंशन, इट्स अ कम्बरसम मोनोटोनस जॉब जिथं कंटिन्युअसली आपल्याला ड्राईव्ह करत राहायला लागतं. कंटाळा येतो एका पॉईंट नंतर, ऍक्सिडेंट्स वाढतात, खास करके जर तुम्ही लॉंग जर्नीज वरती असताल इन प्लेसेस इन युरोप और इन अमेरिका एंड यू आर अ ह्यूमन ड्राइवर हु इज ड्राइविंग अ कार. सो आफ्टर पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम देयर इज फटीग दैट स्टेप्स इन. फटीग के बाद स्ट्रेस आता है, स्ट्रेस के बाद एक्सीडेंट होता है, एक्सीडेंट के बाद आपने कुछ नहीं किया है, आपने शायद दारू वारू कुछ भी पिया नहीं है. इट्स जस्ट अ कॉन्सिक्वेंस ऑफ दैट लॉन्ग फटीग which results in an accident which can possibly become mortal to you. मग ह्या केसमध्ये ड्रायव्हरलेस कार मेक्स अ डिफरंट पिच ऑल टुगेदर. चांगली असते, एका पॉईंटवरून दुसऱ्या पॉईंटवरती सेफली घेऊन जाते, काही प्रॉब्लेम्स येत नाही, आपल्याला रस्त्यावरती लक्ष ठेवायची गरजच नाहीये, आपण रस्त्याच्या चहू बाजूकडे बघू शकतो. तुमच्या केसमध्ये असं सांगितलं जाणार नाही, तुमच्या केसमध्ये असं सांगितलं जाणार आहे इट इज सेफ. You just think of this, this is how it is going to go about changing things. It's not going to go about changing things in the same way in which, so as I said, A, it's speed, B, it's scope, C, it's the systems that are creating an impact. Just let me go through a couple of things before I go about changing this track on which I am as of now. The possibilities of billions of people connected by mobile devices with unprecedented processing power, storage capacity and access to knowledge are unlimited. And that is a feature of, that's the formational feature of what is called as the fourth industrial revolution. These possibilities will be multiplied by emerging technological breakthroughs in fields such as artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, robotics, the Internet of Things, autonomous vehicles, 3D printing, material sciences, energy storage and quantum computing. So the fields in which it is going to create an impact are all these fields. I don't know how many times you have agonized over a refrigerator which is connected to the mains. लाईट जाते आणि त्याच्यामध्ये ठेवलेल्या गोष्टी खराब होतात. So as far as the West is concerned, they are already experimenting with what is called as refrigerators which run on batteries and which do not need the mains. But then those batteries need to be smaller, need to be more powerful, need to work for a longer time once they are charged. And same is the case with a number of things wherein you are going to go about using batteries rather than connecting with the mains. Electric cars, perfect example. So cars which are going to free you from this guilt of driving by producing what is called as carbon while you are driving. So while you keep on driving, you have this sense of guilt that as I keep on driving, I keep on producing carbon. As I keep on producing carbon, the earth keeps on becoming a wild, bad place for others to live in. Well, the perfect solution over this is what is called an electric car. But electricity which is generated in a completely different manner from what we know of as of now. A car which goes on for thousands of kilometers on a minimum amount of charging in a manner wherein the charge is possibly self-generated. तुम कितना इमेजिन कर सकते हो? It's as simple as that. This one has no limitations to it. It's like a limitless sort of a world. It's a question of how much can you imagine. फक्त त्याच्यातनं काही गोष्टी घडणार आहेत, त्या डेफिनेट आहे. म्हणजे एवढं सगळं तुम्ही इमॅजिन केल्याच्या नंतर देखील गायीच्या पोटात देव येणार नाही. त्याच्यामुळे तुम्ही काय इमॅजिन करणार आहे याला मर्यादा आहे. म्हणून तुम्हाला जर असं वाटत असेल की वी कॅन इमॅजिन द एन्शियंट इंडियन वर्ल्ड इन टू एक्झिस्टन्स, तो दॅट इज नॉट गोइंग टू हॅपन. आय एम सॉरी. म्हणजे तुम्ही असं जर काय इमॅजिन केल्यानंतर गायीच्या पोटामध्ये देव येणार नाही. पण त्याच्या व्यतिरिक्त सगळ्या गोष्टी घडणार. You want to have everything other than that happening. You're possibly going to live lives which are completely different from the sort of lives which you're living as of now. But at the same time, it creates its own challenges, as I said. If you're going to be more connected to the net, you have also got to think in terms of how do you go about securing yourself when you're on the net. Not just your physical existences, your material existences, because if all things get connected to the net, then you have got to think in terms of practically every single thing which is getting connected, which needs to be secured independently. So वो जो एक मेजर क्राइसिस है. Artificial intelligence, robotics, the Internet of Things, autonomous vehicles, 3D printing, nanotechnology, biotechnology, material sciences, energy storage, and quantum computing. Done. So all fields which are going to have immense potential in terms of changing the very way in which we have lived all these years. But the only thing is, how does one go about securing things after that? For us, especially people who are planning jobs in government, one of the most important consequences of the coming revolution is the capacity to go about creating vast amount of data which can be mined by a government which has a mind for it. So आपका जितना भी transaction है, एक तरफ it makes you more autonomous, एक तरफ it breaks the thrall of the state, एक तरफ you need not accept what were called as textbooks as gospel truths. So once upon a time when you grew up, at least I don't believe कि आपके बारे में ये हुआ था, पर हमारे बारे में ये हुआ था, in the sense that whatever is in the textbook is true. आणि जे पुस्तकात नाही आहे ते कदाचित अस्तित्वातच नाही आहे. पुस्तक स्टेट जनरेटेड आहे. आम्हाला खूप नंतर कळायला लागलं की स्टेट हा एक प्रॉब्लेमॅटिक प्रकार आहे. पण तरी देखील पाठ्यपुस्तकात जे आहे ते खरं आहे. आता लर्निंग इज नॉट इन एनी वे सर्कमस्क्राइब्ड बाय द टेक्स्टबुक. लर्निंग बिकम्स फ्री. Learning becomes unlimited. One thing ज्याच्यामध्ये the textbook म्हणजे बालभारती textbooks now किंवा for that matter of fact even NCERT textbooks now appear to be things which are so limited in terms of what is there on that sheet. Log online and the possibility of learning about that topic now increases manyfold. But with it comes the risk of deciding as to how do I know as to is this true or not. How do I authenticate it? How do I validate whatever I'm seeing in terms of information online? Large chunks of information would be generated. पर इसको मैं authenticate कैसे करूं? इसको मैं validate कैसे करूं? कैसे मानूं कि ये सच है या गलत है? So limitless learning is possible, but at the same time it creates a crisis on the other hand in terms of authentication and validation of knowledge. But it increases the capacity of learning. It definitely increases things. So on one hand, you now need not be dished out what is called as a state truth and accept it to be real. So state automatically starts becoming, I don't know how many of you realized it or how many of you did even think about this when it happened. When Jayalalitha died, and especially Jayalalitha being what she was, I have a lurking doubt it was not the same intensity and level of grief as was witnessed when MGR died. There was something artificial about it. There was something which left a bad taste, a bitter taste in your mouth in terms of कि शायद ये concocted है. You can go online and check out for videos of the mourning, the public mourning which happened when MGR died. And then it got me thinking as to ऐसा क्यों हो सकता है कि because I've seen MGR die, I've lived through all of that in terms of MGR के मरने के बाद कैसा था, सीन कैसा था, लोग क्या कर रहे थे. And then you have Jayalalitha dying and you have this whole, and Jayalalitha's death was a much bigger what is called as media death. मैंने एमजीआर के केस में इतना बड़ा मीडिया प्रेजेंस नहीं था, इतना बड़ा मीडिया हाइप भी नहीं था, पर डिफरेंस दोनों चीजों में ये था व्हेन एमजीआर डाइड देयर वाज अ सिंगल चैनल कॉल्ड एज दूरदर्शन. व्हेन जयललिता डाइड इवन द तमिल न्यूज चैनल्स run into something like 10 to 12. When MGR died in 1987, the state was powerful and a chief minister could sort of put himself in this position, became synonymous with the state. कि जिसकी वजह से उसका मौत जो है ना वो एक अलग किस्म का मौत है. Both of them are in the same league in terms of treating people as possibly innocent, underage people who need to be patronized. की तुम्हाला खाऊ घातलं पाहिजे, तुमच्या ज्या भौतिक गोष्टी आहेत त्यांची काळजी घेतली पाहिजे. पण त्याच्या केसमध्ये निराळ आहे आणि हिच्या केसमध्ये निराळ आहे. आणि त्याच्या केसमध्ये द स्टेट इज ऑल पॉवरफुल. त्याच्या केसमध्ये द स्टेट इज अ सोल डिस्पेन्सर ऑफ ऑल ऑफ दिस. हिच्या केसमध्ये while the state is yet doing it, there are so many other agencies who are also doing the same. You have companies, you have NGOs, you have state charities, you have religious organizations. त्या पण सगळ्या त्यांच्या वेगवेगळ्या लेवलला तुम्हाला खाऊ पिऊ घालायचा प्रयत्न करतातच ना. So now the scope is entirely different. It's on a completely different scale altogether. So in Jayalalitha's case, it's a state which is much diminished as compared to the state at that point of time when the state did not have any other agencies to contend with. So I don't know if it did strike things in that manner कि हम दो completely अलग किस्म की states के साथ deal कर रहे हैं. ये एक ऐसा state है जिसने largely over a period of time अपना जितना भी हक और अधिकार है उसको एक तरह से decentralize कर दिया है. अच्छा, major portion of it has been taken away by the market. In MGR's case, state default था. State अगर ये नहीं करेगा तो फिर state क्या करेगा? In Jayalalitha's case, there's a charge that this is populist. This is not what the state should do. The state should create a policy framework whereby people can fend for themselves. तुम उनको क्यों सोच रहे हो की त्यांना खायला मिळेल का नाही? तू ह्याचा विचार कर ना की तुझं पॉलिसी फ्रेमवर्क काय असेल की याच्यामध्ये ते त्यांचं खाऊ शकतील ना. We're living in completely different times. But is the state going to be wished off? The state is not going to be wished off. The one thing which I've got to be very clear with this, data analysis on that huge scale, data generation on that vast scale, creates possibilities for a state to keep a closer watch on things if it has a mind for it. अगर उसके दिमाग में है ना, अगर वो चाहता है तो वो आपके हर एस्पेक्ट पे नजर रख सकता है. हाँ, it's quite possible that most of the time this capacity of the state is going to get hacked. It's quite possible that most of the time you are going to have more powerful states than your state who are going to play havoc with what your state has. That's a classical example is the larger West Asia, Middle Eastern and Eastern European region. कि जिधर if the Russians feel that they need to do something, they these days do not wage open war with anyone, they just go online. And they try to stymie things online. You don't go out and declare war against anyone. But state action, as far as the Russian Federation is concerned, has consequences which are similar to war. Ekdam similar. As of now, problem is they are dealing with smaller countries. They are dealing with countries like Moldova, they are dealing with countries like Estonia, they are dealing with countries like Ukraine. जो comparatively छोटे आगे, they are not dealing with larger countries. And by the time they realize that they can do this, they had done something very profound with the Turks in 2008, when they had almost blown up their pipelines. But at that point of time, there's a major question as to what is this all about, and do the Russians have a role in anything of this? You have more sophisticated countries like America and Israel playing games with the Iranian nuclear program. We did not attack anything. When we just saw to it that their computers would be infected with enough amount of malware कि जिसकी वजह से the functioning of their entire program can be set back by something like 8 to 10 years. So problem ये है कि ये आज की तारीख में creates troubles at practically all levels when it comes to the state. When it comes to the state's capacity of watching over its citizens, बहुत profound capacity है. अगर स्टेट चाहता है, अगर स्टेट के दिमाग में है, तो स्टेट डेफिनेटली आप पे नजर रख सकता है. And as I said, काही दूसरा कुठलाही पर्याय नहीं है. You have just got to switch off. That's all. You have just got to see to it कि तुम्हारा कोई भी डिजिटल फुटप्रिंट नहीं रहेगा. Between states, it creates trouble. But as of now, as I said, we have seen most of this trouble. If this American charge stands, then Mr. Putin did really play around with American computers and did really try to do something very fishy as far as this election is concerned. But Azunahi, we don't have enough data to substantiate anything of this. As of now, this is merely an allegation. We just don't have enough of this micro data जो चाहिए ना to prove कि exactly कैसे किया गया. तो वो तो आज की तारीख में existence में नहीं है, वो शायद कभी मिलेगा भी नहीं. But the Putin Kremlin has played around with countries in the past. It has played around with countries like Moldova, it has played around with countries like Estonia, it has played around with countries like Ukraine, जो comparatively उससे छोटी countries है, पर जिनकी सारी किस्म की ऑनलाइन एक्टिविटीज को गवर्नमेंट और प्राइवेट दोनों किस्म की एक्टिविटीज को पूरी तरह से ब्लॉक करने का कोशिश इसके पहले इन लोगों ने किया है. It's just a question of can this be done on a larger scale? Can it be done with bigger countries? Can it be done with countries which have the capacity of tracking you and stopping you in your tracks while you're trying to do this? अच्छा, अगर ये कंट्रीज कर सकती है तो ये इंडिविजुअल्स भी कर सकते हैं. So on one hand, it provides you with a limitless platform in terms of trying to broadcast yourself. You need not be now worried about this की आपण जर एखादी गोष्ट केली किंवा आपण जर एखादी गोष्ट लिहिली किंवा बोलली, मी लहानपणी कविता केली, असं आपल्या बाबतीत सगळ्यांच्या बाबतीत घडायचं. तर आपण कविता लहानपणी असताना करायचो. मग काही लोक मोठेपणी पण करतात, पण जाऊ त्याच्याबद्दल आपण बोलायला. केल्याच्या नंतर हे आपण ऐकवणार कुणाला? तर आपण आपल्या मित्रांना ऐकवायचो, शाळेच्या किंवा कॉलेजच्या मॅगझिनमध्ये ते छापून आणायचो. फार तर फार गावातल्या वर्तमानपत्रापर्यंत आपली पोच असायची. पण आज यू नीड नॉट बी वरीड अबाउट दिस. आज वॉट एव्हर यू डू, if it is sufficiently well uploaded, it can have a universal audience. It can have a universal sort of, दुनिया के किसी भी कोने से आपको रीडर मिलेगा. तो वो एक तरह से आपकी पॉसिबिलिटीज को इंक्रीज कर देता है in terms of reaching out to the world. पण you have got to be careful at the same time. कारण जर एकदा का त्या गोष्टीची सवय लागली तर कदाचित आपल्या पहिल्या कवितेला आपल्याला कोणीतरी कॅलिफोर्निया किंवा कॅनडावरनं एक लेटर किंवा नोट ऑफ अप्रिसिएशन पाठवलं. दुसऱ्या कवितेला तसे न मिळाल्याच्या नंतर जे काही डिप्रेशन येऊ शकतं, that is what needs to be tackled and be better understood. Because just as the online world is a world in which you socialize, it's also a place which can be very cold and neglectful of whatever you are doing. You might not be noticed. You might not be taken into consideration. You might not be answered. You'll have to live with that neglect. You can't make this a point. म्हणजे ते अनेक लोकांच्या बाबतीत असतं की यू कॅन्ट लिव्ह विदाउट द फोन. यू कीप ऑन कंटिन्युअसली स्कॅनिंग इट. यू कीप ऑन कंटिन्युअसली फाइंडिंग मेसेजेस. अँड मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम यू आर ट्राइंग टू फाइंड मेसेजेस विच आर अप्रिशिएटरी अँड ॲड्युलेटरी ऑफ वॉट एव्हर यू हॅव डन. आणि जर तसं नाही आलं तर मग आपल्याला प्रॉब्लेम असतो की असं आपल्याला का म्हटलं गेलं किंवा असं का आलं नाही. यू स्पेंड मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम इन कॉन्सोनन्स विथ इट. But half the time you don't realize as to what you are doing is cheap imitation, nothing more than that. You are not being original in terms of whatever you are doing. आपण ऑलरेडी कुठेतरी वाचलेलं आहे, आपण ऑलरेडी कुठेतरी ऐकलेलं आहे, आपण ऑलरेडी कुठेतरी हे पाहिलेलं आहे, ज्याच्या बेसिसवरती आपण जे काही लिहितोय ते लिहितोय. सो जे आपण लिहितोय ते सफिशियंटली ओरिजिनल नाही आहे, पण तरी आपला अट्टास हा आहे की याला दाद अशी मिळावी जणू काय हे ओरिजिनल आहे. ती न मिळाल्याच्या नंतर आपला क्रायसिस सुरू होतो. सो इन अ वे इट्स एक जिसको बोलते हैं ना दुधारी किस्म का चीज है. वो आपको वो परफेक्ट जाल है, वो आपको नेट करेगा, पर उस नेट करने की पूरी प्रोसेस में वो आपकी वाट भी लगाएगा. अच्छा, नाउ देयर इज अ बिग क्वेश्चन इन टर्म्स ऑफ व्हाट डज इट मीन टू बी ओरिजिनल और व्हाट डज इट मीन व्हेन इट कम्स टू ह्यूमन क्रिएटिविटी. कितना स्पेस है फॉर समथिंग कॉल्ड एज ओरिजिनलिटी. Is it really possible to be always original? Has man always been original in terms of whatever he has been doing? Most of the geniuses of the world, वो माइकलएंजेलो हो, वो आइन्स्टाइन हो, वो कोई भी हो, हे लोक किती ओरिजिनल असतात, हे लोक किती ओरिजिनल असू शकतात. It raises fundamental questions which are good enough, which are not bad, but at the same time you have got to be careful. For a very simple reason, because as it has been rightly pointed out, as we keep on tuning in more to various aspects of the net, we are also losing our capacity for certain other things. When we are more communicative with online things than we are with communicative. म्हणजे मला ऑनलाईन जर एखादी गोष्ट असेल तर आय एम पॉसिबली मोर अकम्प्लिश्ड इन माय कम्युनिकेशन विथ इट. पण जर ऑफलाईन आय हॅव गॉट टू मीट समवन, आय डोंट नो मी त्याला काय बोलणार आहे. म्हणजे एखादी व्यक्ती किंवा एखादा त्या प्रकारचा समूह की ज्याच्याशी आपण कंटिन्युअसली ऑनलाईन संपर्कात असतो, हाऊ डू डील विथ देम ऑफलाईन. बरं, सगळं जर आपण ऑनलाईन बोलतो तर मग आपण ऑफलाईन काय करतोय, एस्पेशली व्हेन इट कम्स टू कम्युनिकेशन. जेव्हा हस्बंड अँड अ वाईफ who are in a relationship are continuously in an online communication, so what is it that they are exactly doing offline? It leaves you with no time for these types of things. Compassion, reflection, contemplation, speed. The whole idea that you have got, the whole sense that it creates, that you have got to keep on changing things. You have got to be continuously in tune and in step with the world. When is the human brain really in a position where it can go about absorbing those types of things, processing it at that level? And if you're not doing that, then are you just skimming things? Pata nahi, it's scary. So on one hand, as I said, it's limitless. It opens up possibilities which are unimaginable. But at the same time, it creates all those problems. As there's this very interesting idea of what is called as a 24-hour day. दिवसात तास किती असतात तर दिवसात तास 12 नसतात, दिवसात तास 24 असतात. This whole notion that I can only build upon this if I go about cutting down on the time that I use in the night for sleeping. So लोक जी रात्री 3 आणि 2 आणि 4 वाजता एकमेकाला मेसेजेस पाठवतात. लाईक की हा 4 वाजता मेसेज पाठवत झोपला कधी आहे आणि झोपतो का नाही झोपतो, आणि दिवसभर हेच करत बसतो, तर मग हा एक्झॅक्टली झोपतो कधी. बोल आणि झोप बीप काही गरजेची गोष्ट नाही. गरजेची गोष्ट ह्या ज्या सगळ्या गोष्टीत हे महत्वाचं. बरं, मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम मोस्ट ऑफ दोज मेसेज आर कम्प्लिटली पॉइंटलेस. म्हणजे ह्याच्या उखाळ्या काढणं, त्याच्या पाकळ्या काढणं, हा काय म्हटला, ती काय म्हटली. 4 वाजता काय करायचं आपण बघू ना, सकाळी काय करायचं. म्हणून रात्री 4 वाजता देखील हेच चाललेलं असतं. तो तिला काय म्हटला, ती मग त्याला काय म्हटली, मग मी त्याला काय म्हटलं, मग ती मला काय म्हटलं. But all of this can wait for some time. When you do that, people do that. People spend a lot of time over all of this. But multiple time zones. त्या अर्थाने I don't know, the Indian cricket public is quite lucky because most of the time when they're playing matches outside South Asia, they take into consideration कि South Asia का day और time night का division कैसा है. And you see to it that you would play it at a point of time when you would get South Asian viewers to it. But that is because the cricketers are lucky. The cricket viewing audience is lucky. If the sport that I love is football, if I'm passionate about it, तो मला कित्येकदा रात्री 3 वाजता उठायला लागतं to see a match. But that doesn't take into consideration कि साउथ एशिया में ये मैच किस टाइम पे आएगा. So multiple time zones in which you have got to work, in which you have got to recreate yourself, which you entertain yourself. So now how does this act on the human body? Because the body was never made for what is called a 24-hour day. The body was made for a division of 12 hours into 12 hours, day and night. And then you have people dying young, you have people suffering from heart diseases at unimaginably young ages. And you also have the pressure to perform. You have got to be in line and league with it. या सगळ्यावरती आहे ना, to cut the whole big story short, you have got to look at what do the northern Europeans do. The Germans and the Scandinavians, who are connected and who are also disconnected. So to what extent would they stay connected? To an extent that it is necessary for you. And then there's a point at which you disconnect and you stop being connected and you have a completely different life of your own. And that different life is what is going to determine your social status, is what is going to determine your social worth. Of course, it's deeply connected with your position as far as your economics is concerned. कारण ह्या प्रकारचे आयुष्य मोस्ट मायग्रंट लोक जी असतात ना, जर्मनी किंवा नॉर्थ युरोपमध्ये, ती लोक असले आयुष्य जगू शकत नाही. ह्या प्रकारचे आयुष्य फक्त जे नेटिव्हज आहेत ना, दॅट इज व्हॉट इज पॉसिबल फॉर दॅम. अँड स्विचिंग ऑफ इज व्हेरी व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट. म्हणजे इफ यू डोंट स्विच ऑफ इन कंट्रीज लाईक नॉर्वे और स्वीडन, यू वुड ॲक्च्युअली बी लुक डाऊन अपॉन की यू आर सम सॉर्ट ऑफ स्लेव टू समबडी, दॅट यू आर नॉट स्विच्ड ऑफ. आणि दिवसामध्ये एक मोठा वेळ असा असला पाहिजे की ज्यावेळेला यू आर नॉट स्विच्ड ऑफ. यू पेंट, यू सिंग, यू डान्स, यू सोशलाइज, यू ॲक्च्युअली मीट पीपल. सो इन मोस्ट ऑफ दीज कंट्रीज यू हॅव गॉट टू बी व्हेरी केअरफुल व्हेन यू आर सोशलाइजिंग विथ समबडी फिजिकली दॅट यू आर स्विच्ड ऑफ. ते आपल्यासारखं नाही करता येत की यू सिट अक्रॉस विथ समवन ऑन द सेम कॉफी टेबल, द कॉफी इज देअर इन बिटवीन अँड यू कीप ऑन प्लेइंग विथ योर फोन. So in most of these places it would actually be taken as a sign of discourtesy. It would be seen as etiquettes और manners ही नहीं है. यहाँ के बैठा है, 4 लोग बैठे हैं, एक दूसरे के साथ बात करने के बजाय फोन के साथ खेल रहा है. And मग their attitude is decided. They want to look down upon you as somebody गरीब बिचारा. फारच तुम्ही कदाचित खूपच गरीब आहे नाही की आपण ह्या इथे कॉफीसाठी जमलेलो आहोत आणि त्यावेळेला तुम्ही फोनवरती काहीतरी करताय. तुम्ही कदाचित खूपच गरीब आणि काय त्याला म्हणतात असं शोषित बिषित आहे की ज्याच्यामुळे तुम्ही असं सगळं करताय. I want to have that sense. There's a world when you switch off and there's a world when you switch on. And when you're on, you're really on. But I don't know, as I said, कि तो जो वर्क प्ले वाला बैलेंस है जो वो लोग कर सकते हैं तो वो एक तरह से उनके लिए इंस्टिंक्चुअल है. वो उनकी केसेस में पॉसिबल है क्योंकि उनके सोशल फॉर्मेशन अलग किस्म के हैं. So in places like where we are, or where the Chinese are, or where the Americans or the Europeans are, the other Europeans are, is it really possible for us to live lives of that type? I don't know, the jury is out on that one. But in most places, this is the increasing norm. And there's this certain perceptible change, की जो आपल्या केसमध्ये कधी होणार मला माहीत नाही, पण माझी अशी अपेक्षा आहे की तो होईल आणि झाला पाहिजे. I don't know if you have realized it. To believe in this, that cashless transactions in India are going to take care of everything, nothing can be more stupid than that. Cashless transactions of the variety that the Modi government is incentivizing deepen the digital divide which is already present in Indian society. So एक किस्म का आपकी कंट्री में एक डिजिटल डिवाइड ऑलरेडी है. कैशलेस ट्रांजैक्शंस उन लोगों को इंसेंटिवाइज करते हैं जो लोग ऑलरेडी डिजिटल है और जिनको इंसेंटिव्स का कोई जरूरत नहीं है. कैशलेस ट्रांजैक्शंस डू नॉट इंसेंटिवाइज द सॉर्ट ऑफ गवर्नमेंट आइडियाज दैट यू हैव, डू नॉट इंसेंटिवाइज दोज पीपल हु ऑलरेडी आर नॉट विद इन दिस नेट. जे ऑलरेडी त्याच्यामध्ये आहेत, जे ऑलरेडी त्या प्रकारचे ट्रान्झॅक्शन्स करतायत, उनकी हैबिट्स कीप ऑन गेटिंग रीइन्फोर्स्ड, पण दैट डजंट रिजॉल्व द डिवाइड, दैट मेंटेन्स द डिवाइड. So there's an India which is not doing those types of things. और उस इंडिया को आप ये जो पूरी हरकतें कर रहे हो ना, इससे कोई इंसेंटिव नहीं मिलता है कि इट शुड स्विच ऑफ द कैश एंड मूव इनटू अ कैशलेस सिचुएशन. So there's already a divide which is present. You are reinforcing the divide with the activities which you are doing. I don't know how do you encourage tribals, people coming from the Indian villages, remote Indian villages, people coming from the mountainous borderland regions or from the coastal areas to move into this with a scheme which says की तुम्ही दर आठवड्याला एवढं करा, मग आपण एक लॉटरी काढू, त्याच्यातनं तुम्ही जर चांगलं केलेलं असेल तर तुम्हाला 10 लाख रुपये देतो. It's cheap, third rate. The government of India reduced to the level of playing lotteries. The Niti Aayog idea of investing 300 crore rupees to incentivize people in India to do digital payments is nothing more than a lottery. 100 रुपयाचं तिकीट काढलं की एवढं बक्षीस मिळेल, 200 रुपयाचं काढलं एवढं बक्षीस मिळेल, 500चं काढलं एवढं बक्षीस मिळेल. हे त्याच्यासारखं आहे. I never knew that such a grave and serious officer as Amitabh Kant would at some point of time be reduced to the level of a lottery inspector or a lottery officer. But it was bad seeing him yesterday doing all those things. म्हणजे लॉटरीवाली लोक असं करतात. हा जुगाड घालायचं, दुसरं काहीच नाही. द स्टेट इज एनकरेजिंग दिस. हा, ॲट द एंड ऑफ द डे आय फेल्ट व्हेरी हॅपी. मला गेल्या महिन्याभरामध्ये खूपच आनंद वाटलेला आहे. मला वाईट वाटलेलं आहे इन टर्म्स ऑफ वॉट एव्हर इज हॅपनिंग, पीपल हॅव लॉस्ट देअर लाईफ्स अँड एव्हरीथिंग, पण मला खूप आनंद झालेला आहे एका गोष्टीत. भयानक म्हणजे इमेजरेबल आनंद झालेला आहे. कारण गेली जवळजवळ महिनाभर जोपर्यंत हे चालू झालेलं नव्हतं तोपर्यंत गेली 2.5 वर्ष, म्हणजे हे महिनाभरात चालू झालं त्याच्यानंतर नरेटिव्ह बदला. पर उसके पहले ऑलमोस्ट 2.5 years the Modi government perpetrated this gross sort of an idea in India that India is a spiritual country. They never lost an opportunity of that. की आपण त्यांच्यापेक्षा वेगळे कसे आहोत, आपण खूप आध्यात्मिक आहोत, आपण खूप अदरवर्ल्डली आहोत. Think of Baba Ramdev and his boy walking around doing all those types of things that they keep on doing. Think of सगळे बाबा कुठं गायब झाले मला कळलेलंच नाही, पण सगळे बाबा गायब झालेले. हा महिन्याभराच्या आधी इफ आय रिमेंबर वॉट एव्हर आय वॉज सीइंग इन इंडियन पब्लिक लाईफ, देयर वॉज अ बाबा एट द ड्रॉप ऑफ अ हॅट. म्हणजे whether the function requires a Baba or doesn't require a Baba, there is a Baba. There's a Baba all over the place. पण सडनली द बाबाज हॅव डिसअपियर्ड, ऑल ऑफ दॅम हॅव डिसअपियर्ड. कुणी नाहीये, सगळे गायब झालेले आहेत. आणि हे सगळेजण 2.5 वर्ष काय बत्ता लावत फिरत होते की वी आर अ स्पिरिच्युअल कंट्री, वी आर अ स्पिरिच्युअल सिव्हिलायझेशन, वी आर अ डिफरंट पीपल ऑल टुगेदर. आपण आध्यात्मिक आहोत, आपण अहिकतेच्या पलीकडे आहोत. गेल्या अख्ख्या महिन्यामध्ये द नरेटिव्ह अक्रॉस द कंट्री इज डीपली मटेरियलिस्टिक अँड मटेरियलिस्टिक ऑफ द करन्सी नोट व्हरायटी. So I'm so happy that Indians, wherever they are now, only talk of cash किधर है. कुठल्या एटीएम मध्ये आहे, इथं आहे, तिथे कुठल्या बँकेत आहे, जिथं कुठं आहे तिथं किती आहे. मला इतकं बरं वाटलेलं आहे, इतकं बरं. मतलब ऑलवेज बिलीव्ड इन दिस. ये जो पूरा आध्यात्म और ये जो पूरा है ना, ये एक नॉनसेंस है, ये एक नॉन एग्जिस्टेंट किस्म का फालतू बकवास है. मैन एट द एंड ऑफ द डे इज अ फंक्शन ऑफ हिज मटीरियलिटी. यू आर बॉर्न इन मैटर, यू लिव इन मैटर, यू पेरिश इन मैटर. योर एंटायर एक्झिस्टन्स इज अ कॉन्सिक्वेन्स ऑफ द मटेरियलिटी इन विच यू फाइंड योरसेल्व्स. त्यामुळे ते सोडून बाकी सगळी जी बकवास चाललेली होती गेली 2.5 वर्ष, विश्वगुरु आणि तत्सम सगळ्या प्रकारच्या बत्त्या लावणं, सब गायब हो गया. पैसा गायब हो गया, खेळीच गायब हो गया. आणि त्यानंतर ऑल दॅट इज बीन हॅपनिंग फॉर द लास्ट 1 month, I have not come across a single sort of a communication anywhere. मैं अलग अलग, I travel in a lot of spaces in the city. I've traveled to different bus stops, I've traveled to different roads. पण तुम्ही कुठेही जा, wherever there are 2 or 3 people who are talking to each other, the most important thing that they are talking at that point of time when you are around is पैसे कुठं. मी कुणाला किती दिले, कुणी मला किती दिले, कुणाला कुठं काय मिळतंय. मला इतकं बरं वाटलेलं आहे, इतकं बरं. आय एम गोइंग टू थँक हिम फॉर दिस ॲट द एंड ऑफ एव्हरीथिंग. दॅट ही फॉर द फर्स्ट अँड मोस्ट इम्पॉर्टंट टाइम blew off this veil of complete delusion that Indians have, and especially schizophrenic middle class Indians have, की we are a spiritual country. आध्यात्मिक आहे, आत्म ऊर्जा, आत्मतेज. आपण ते पाश्चिमात्यांसारखं नाहीये, पैशाच्या मागे धावणारी लोक, सगळ्या प्रकारचं सुख आयुष्यामध्ये त्याच्यामुळे घालवणारी लोक. आपण तसं नाही. म्हटलं आता कसं ऊन आया की नाही, पहाड की नीचे. I am so happy with this, so happy. And at the end of the day, this is what counts. This is so fundamental to your existences. बाबा ते सगळे गायब झाले, कारण बाबा सगळे मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग मध्ये गुंतलेले. कारण सगळ्यात बाबाला कुठं पेटीएम कसलं काय, बाबाला रेडी कॅश मध्ये पैसे मिळायचे. मग बाबा सगळ्यात मोठा क्रायसिस इज हाऊ डू यू कन्वर्ट दिस नाउ. How it is? Obviously he has got to do that. मगर बाबा का बिजनेस जो है वो सबसे जरूरी, जो बाबा ने जो किया, Baba, as I used to tell people, is a classical example of devotion turned into a brand. So Baba started with a game called as devotion. Perfect business model and needs to be studied across the world. How do you develop a cult based in devotion? Then how do you take the cult places through something that is called as television? Then how do you turn this into a brand? Then how do you turn the brand as the basis for a whole range of commodities which have got to be sold all over the place? But most of those commodities का transaction जो है वो cash based है. मग आम्हाला प्रॉब्लेम आला ना, येणारच ना. म्हणजे आम्ही आमच्या दुकानामध्ये स्वाईप मशीन बसवू, बट द प्रॉब्लेम इज मोस्ट ऑफ दोज पीपल हु कम टू अस, दे आर नॉट पीपल हु आर गोइंग टू ट्रांजैक्ट बाय यूजिंग अ स्वाइप मशीन. वो जो लोग आते हैं सत्संगों में, इन द फर्स्ट प्लेस वो आते हैं क्योंकि खाने को मिलता है. You stop food in a satsang, you will see the difference in people who would throng a satsang. वो ऐसा लोग वो थोड़ी नहीं स्वाइप कार्ड लेके घूमता है, वो रेडी कैश लेके घूमता है. कैश उसका सेंस ऑफ सिक्योरिटी है. अब क्या करेगा? मतलब गुड, नाइस. So in a way, the best reason why I'm very happy with this is because suddenly, all those nonsense middle class Indian ideas of how we are a great spiritual civilization, of how we are based in spirituality, of how the entire world that is not Indian is based in materiality, has collapsed, completely collapsed. The veil is torn, the delusion is gone. तुम लोग उतने ही मटीरियल हो, शायद उससे ज़्यादा मटीरियल हो, क्योंकि तुम्हारा स्पिरिचुअल भी मटीरियल ही है. काय सांगितलं ना की देवाची दुनिया, गाय देवानी बनवली, दूध ते देती, साय ती त्याच्यावरती येणार, हा लोणी बनवणार आणि त्याच्यातनं जाऊन देवाला नैवेद्य दाखवणार. Certain Islam which was derided as jihadi and wahhabi turned out to be the most moral thing in all these transactions. And in our case, they don't go and give God anything. You can't give God anything. God has created everything for you. ते सगळं त्याच्या मालकीचं, त्याच्यातलंच उचलणार आणि त्यालाच मिळून देणार, त्याला सांगणार घे. और असं नाही ना करता ये. तेरे को हक भी नहीं है उसको कुछ देने का. तू रह रहा उसकी रहमत की वजह से है. आई एम व्हेरी हॅपी, व्हेरी हॅपी. ह्या असल्या गोष्टी आहेत ना, घडल्याच नसत्या, कधी घडू शकल्या नसत्या. त्यामुळे लीव अलोन ऑल द इकॉनॉमिक अँड पॉलिटिकल कॉन्सिक्वेन्सेस, पॉलिटिकली काय होणार आणि इकॉनॉमिकली काय होणार. आय एम सो हॅपी. आय एम गोइंग टू ऑलवेज चेरिश दिस 1 month थ्रू आउट माय वॉट एव्हर लाईफ इज लेफ्ट as a month which showed Indians in their true colors. True ekdam. The emperor has no clothes. असं आहे. And it is going to keep on accentuating with the coming in of all of this. I'm going to live with it. This one makes it more possible. ये completely गलत idea है कि डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शंस मेक थिंग्स सेफ एंड सिक्योर. फिजिकली पैसा, जो पुराना सिस्टम था ना कि जिसमें फिजिकली आप पैसा मूव कर रहे थे, उसमें कुछ तो एक फिजिकल ट्रांजैक्शन था जो टाइम कंज्यूमिंग भी था और जो वेरीफाइबल भी था. डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शंस का सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम ये है, मनी नाउ कैन बी मूव्ड एट ग्रेटर स्पीड्स विदाउट पॉसिबली लीविंग नो ट्रेल बिहाइंड. Because now you don't need to move cash. You don't need to physically move cash. You have got to move value, and moving value from one place to another place by using the online thing becomes much more easier, is much more faster. That's the way in which stock markets work across the world. You pull out from one stock market in the morning, you push it into another stock market by evening. You cash out your money next morning, you have walked out. और इसका कोई ट्रेल नहीं रहेगा, कोई भी. देयर इज नो ट्रेल विच इज गोइंग टू बी लेफ्ट बिहाइंड. सो इट्स गुड. आई डोंट नो. विद दैट आई सबमिट. विद दैट आई पुश दिस इन, सेइंग कि दिस इज वेयर इट इज.